Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka TheIndianJesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing tonight? Really quick, I want to give a shout out to the replay gang. What is up? I am so sorry that you missed this party we are about to have, because we're going to have a good time, and it's never as good when you're not here. So please, come on through every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll always be here for the party. And real quick, one more thing before we start. You already know, got to give a shout out to the one, the only sponsor of the stream. We got to share the screen first. Struggle streaming. Take two. My6shirt.com. You can be as beautiful as these ladies, or maybe not. Who knows? You're just going to have to buy a shirt and find out. Plus, the only place to get your very own merch from, TheIndianJesus. Only at My6shirt.com. All right, so what are we getting into tonight? You saw the thumbnail. You saw the title. Jordan Peterson. It is fucking hot in here. Every single day. I'm like, oh, it's so chilly. I sit down, set everything up. By the time I get going, I'm like, damn, it's hot. Whew. All right. Struggle streaming hard tonight. So you saw the thumbnail. You saw that you may have seen a clip from Jordan Peterson going on Piers Morgan's show. Did not know that Piers Morgan still had a show, but hey, apparently he does. Let's fucking jump. Let's just, damn it. No cursing in the first 10 minutes. Let's just jump right into it, because it's not very long, but it is very interesting. So let's do it. As always, if you know how StreamYard could be, if there's no sound, please let me know. Don't let me be sitting here talking about a muted video. Who's ready? Let's do it. That's three. That's 3 times. Messed it up. All right. Third time's a charm. Let's go. Who we got?
Planet. Dr. Jordan Peterson's books became overnight hits. Millions watch him online, and his tours pack theaters across the world. He's a clinical psychologist whose fans treat him more like a rock star. And tonight, we go toe-to-toe and most definitely uncensored.
From London, this is Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Well, good evening from London, and welcome to a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Dr. Jordan Peterson, one-on-one. He's a clinical psychologist turned culture warrior and one of the world's most famous and infamous intellectuals. His books are instant bestsellers.
God damn it. That book, if you're not familiar.
Most famous and infamous intellectuals. His books.
So this is, I don't think it's his first book, but definitely his first book that he wrote since he became big. 12 Rules for Life. So, my brother and I never had the greatest relationship, but we were always able to, get deep and talk about things a little bit more than anyone else in the family. And then I'm trying to think about how detailed I want to get. Certain things happened, and he started to skew more towards the left, and I seem to have skewed a little bit more to the right over time. So I gave him this book, 12 Rules for Life, for Christmas 3 years ago. That's the last Christmas I was invited to. And he hasn't spoken to me since. Wonder what that means.
Instant bestsellers. Tens of millions watch him online. Legions of fans swear by his straight-talking guidance.
What I've recommended to people is clean up your room.
But his outspoken views on issues like feminism,
the taming of the wild man, essentially by the desirable inversion.
Hey, we got Miguel in the building. What is good? We also got Indie Films, because I'm a fan of JP. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be a part of the replay gang tonight. All right, so expect your regular hot takes. I promise. Thank you for stopping by.
Woman, and if you think women don't want that, then you better bloody well come up with an explanation for 50 Shades of Grey.
Gender.
You won't use my pronouns, so I'm pretty sure you're my enemy. Yes.
Yeah, well, I know what you think.
You won't use my pronouns, so I'm pretty sure you're my enemy. That's quite a way to look at the world. That's quite a way to look at the world. Now, I'm sure that there was some exchange before this, but if that's like, hey, maybe somebody else didn't know. You didn't say because you have been misgendering me over and over, you're my enemy. You said you won't use my pronouns. How does he know?
But I don't believe that using your pronouns is going to do you any good in the long run.
And made him a lightning rod for controversy. Almost 40 million people have now seen this notorious interview with a British news show.
You're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk
Who remembers Kathy Newman? So what you're saying is
offending me, and that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and
gotcha.
I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha! Gotcha.
Celebrity friends face
Hey, we got per usual in the building. Welcome, brother. Welcome. How are you doing tonight? JP's pronouns are enemy and enemy self. That's not true. He is trying to help.
Just for meeting him. He's loved, he's loathed.
Hey, we got Wiltos in the building. Said, I just seen, am I allowed to say that? Well, you just seen the cry video. So we're going to see the rest of it now.
Never ignored. And tonight,
Welcome,
Jordan
buddy.
Peterson is uncensored. Well, Jordan Peterson joins me now. Jordan Peterson, welcome.
Thank you.
To Piers Morgan Uncensored. I suppose my first question, and there will be people genuinely wanting a simple answer, but there's a bigger answer too. Who is Jordan Peterson?
Well,
Jesus Christ. This is what TV, remember when like TV, this was the height of like, so who is Jordan Peterson? After you just played a montage of who he is, way better, explaining way better than he could just answer. Like, well, what do you want to know?
oh, I'm a clinical psychologist and a
That's why he's
professor,
laughing.
and
That's why
I'm doing that on a broader scale now, I suppose. But it's an extension of what I've done since 1987, really. I mean, I taught the same things I'm teaching, although I've expanded them all throughout my academic career, and my classes were very popular, and not popular exactly. The students found them extremely useful.
Why have you become so notorious? Because I look at it as, I've actually watched a lot of your lectures. I've listened to hours of you and Joe Rogan talking about stuff. I don't see the devil that some people try and portray you as at all.
Yeah, guys, this one is definitely, now that I'm thinking about it, and I realize that the Kathy Newman interview was also Sky News, there is no way this video's staying up. So there might not be a replay gang for this one. So please do hit the likes, and if you want to help out, you know I CashApp rolling right across the bottom. This ain't going nowhere.
And it seems to me the one thing we may share in common is certainly not intellectual prowess, where unfortunately I'm many yards behind you. But what we do share, I think, is that a lot of people seem to have drawn an opinion about us based on either what they've seen in a tiny clip, taken out of context a lot of the time, or what they've been told to think about you by other people.
Yeah, well, that's some of it. I mean, I got tangled up in a political controversy in Canada. I mean, tangled up. I put my foot in it to some degree because I wasn't very happy with what I regarded as government overreach in relationship to who is in possession of my tongue. And I decided a long time ago.
Nice way to put it. Who is in possession of my tongue? So those of you who are not familiar, I don't know how in depth he's going to go. How he became a person he was a professor at a Toronto University, psychology, and they changed the law. I don't know if it was a Canadian law, if it was a law within the school, but either way, making it illegal not to misgender someone or to dead name someone, or I don't know the particulars, but if somebody is whatever gender, you have to call them that. If you call them a different gender, you could get arrested, you could lose your job, all that kind of stuff. And his position was basically, I'm a nice person, I will use whatever gender, whatever name you want me to use. That's my choice to do. But you as the government, or you as a government, so it must have been the government, because I don't think he would have been, he probably just would have gone to a different school. But so you as the government don't have the right or the power to tell me what I have to say. Now, in America, we have the right to remain silent. America's number one, baby. But in Canada, they can just tell you got to start saying shit. or else you go to jail. Little Toes, I feel like you know what it is. But for those who don't, thank you for the question. An incel stands for those who are involuntarily celibate. Trying to get it, but cannot.
And really a long time ago,
I don't know. You tell me.
that I was going to say what I thought, and sort of independent of the outcome. You know, often people
Facts.
craft their speech. You know, I could have come here on your show, for example. I spent half an hour thinking, well, what do I want out of this show? But I don't think like that. I wanted to come here and have a conversation with you.
You don't actually make notes, I'm told, before your big.
I make
lectures and
notes, but I
speeches.
generally don't use them. So I have to prepare, you know.
And are they different when you go on tour? Is every night different?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you bring that up because Miguel says, I read something you posted from your mom about your name, IndianJesus. Never once even thought about your name. I only care about what you say. I disagree with her. Of course, I do too. And I definitely understand the concern from religious people who do think that it is, making fun of their God. But unfortunately, especially because she hasn't made any attempt to be a part of my life, then you don't just get to come in and say, you have to do things differently because I don't like it. Doesn't matter if you're my mom. I'm sorry. I'm a grown man, and you have shown that you don't really care what goes on here. So don't watch them. If you don't like it, don't watch. That's pretty much it. And, some people have been giving me a little bit of shit for putting it out there, but those are the people who don't know me that well. Those are the people who aren't here. Those are the people who think that, like, I'm just, oh, mommy was mean to me. I'm like, all right, think that if you want to think that. Like, that's not what I'm doing here. If you want to learn, that's the entire point behind the name, the IndianJesus, is that it's going to piss people off. It's going to make people ask what the hell is going on here. Now, are you, and the general you, are you mature enough to say, I don't like that name, but like Miguel's talking about, actually listen to what I have to say before you make that judgment? And that goes for people who didn't birth me. So if you birthed me, then maybe can I get the benefit of the doubt? Apparently not.
Yes. I never do the same.
How do you decide what to talk about?
Well, at the moment, sometimes I'm taking
Whatever matters most.
questions from the audience, and so I just do a Q&A, but I don't look at the questions before I go on stage.
This is not me. I can never warm my feet up enough. Dead of summer, I'll be down here and have like wool socks on because my feet are always cold. I don't know how, but always. Miguel says, IndianJesus, just like you are the next guru to the rock stars. I don't know about all that, but I'll take it. I will take it. Thank you, brother.
I asked my wife, who asked me the questions, not to show them to me. And then if I prepare a lecture, I usually have a question in mind, often that relates to one of the topics in my books, but sometimes something I'm thinking about. And then I use the lecture as an opportunity to explore that question and answer it while I'm watching the audience to see if my words are landing. And so it's an opportunity to think on my feet. And I think part of the reason the lectures are well attended is because it's a high wire act in some sense, because I never know when I go on stage whether I'm going to bring the lecture to something like a punchline, to something like a...
It's crazy. I don't know if you got what I was doing by popping back up, but he's exactly talking about what streaming is like. And if you're in the Discord, I was like, I'm really not in the mood to do this tonight. I'm not feeling it. But I love it. I love it, and I feel at home here. I feel at home with you guys. And even though it takes a lot out of me to come and give you, I give it my all. And I just want to go to bed. I don't know. This is really resonating with me.
Conclusion. So, and I have no idea, because I have a variety of ideas up in the air.
Dude, that's extraordinary. You have no idea where it may lead to.
No.
Nope.
No. It's an
Is that
exploration.
not scary? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
But, there's an idea that the truth will set you free, right? And that's a very strange idea, because you could imagine that I could come here and I could decide there are things I want to do to promote my books, let's say, and I could tilt our conversation towards that, or I could just say, well, I'm going to pay attention to what's going on here, and I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to say what I think, and then I'm going to assume that whatever the outcome is the right outcome, because
if anybody else was saying this, I'd be like, stop the cap. You're just here to sell your books. But I don't know if it's because it's JVP or if it's because of the way he's saying it, but 1,000% agree. Maybe it's just because it's true for me and I want it to be true for people that I look up to. But it's definitely it's crazy. It's crazy because it could go anywhere. So Will tells I am actually probably the worst dog trainer in the world with dog breeds. I don't know dog breeds. Dogs are very individualistic. Yeah, there's certain, golden retrievers are going to do this kind of thing, and pugs are going to do that kind of thing. But for the most part, a dog is its own dog. So whatever a pug is definitely going to be a different experience than like a pit bull. But like a pit bull versus like I don't even know. But like a pit bull versus something that's like kind of close to a pit bull, it's a dog. And then any given pit bull, my best friend, his older brother had a pit bull. Best dog I've ever seen. No training, no nothing. And he was just good all the time. Never peed in the house, never ate any food, none of that. And then his brother got married and took the dog with them. And so my friend got another pit bull. I'm like, dude, trust me. You lucked out with that first dog. You need to get this dog trained. And of course he didn't listen. And now that dog runs the house. He'll never admit it, but that is the truth. But he just says, I wouldn't give it your all, to be honest. I feel like you're going to burn yourself out, but I could be wrong. I could, but I have no interest in coming here and phoning it in. If I'm just going to come in here and be like, yo, guys, check this out, and I sit here and then just play a video, then I'd rather stay in bed. What gets me out of bed and gets me coming here is giving it my all, is entertaining you guys, is getting you guys to want to be involved in the show as well. So absolutely, I appreciate that you don't want me to burn out. And I'm definitely paying attention to that. But this is what I love, man. I love doing this. I was going to say I would do it for free, but I'm already paying shit tons of money to do it. And again, this one's definitely not only going to get a copyright claim, but definitely blocked.
it was based on something approximating the truth.
What is your goal? What is the point of
That's a good question.
Dr. Jordan Peterson? What do you hope to achieve through what is now huge global fame?
I hope to encourage people. Other than that, I want to see what happens. I want to say what I believe to be true as clearly and carefully as I possibly can. And I want to see what happens as a consequence. And what people don't understand about that in some sense is your happiness, the purpose of your life is not going to be happiness. Sometimes it is. Sometimes that will come. But there will be difficult periods in your life, and happiness won't suffice then. But what you can have in your life is an adventure. You can have an adventure. And the truth is the best adventure. There's no doubt about that. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is you don't know what's going to happen if you say what you think. Now, I don't mean incautiously, and I don't mean provocatively or any more than necessary.
I was looking for a stopping point. It's ironic. It's endlessly ironic to me that I am like, hey, this motherfucker's spitting. And he's talking about the journey to truth and how that's such an adventure. Then how do you believe in God? How is that a thing? Unless it's the case that you don't actually believe in Yahweh, you just believe in something and you call it God, in which case I'm right. Again, stop injecting religious language into politics and everybody will be better off. Yeah, shout out to those in Florida. Please stay safe. Make sure you're locked down or evacuated or whatever the hell you're supposed to do. Shout out to Florida.
You don't know what's going to happen. So that's very...
Yeah, let me back this up a little bit.
What you can have in your life is an adventure. You can have an adventure. And the truth is the best adventure. There's no...
I just saw this now. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Morty is half Chihuahua. You're blocked.
No doubt about that. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is you don't know what's going to happen if you say what you think. Now, I don't mean incautiously, and I don't mean provocatively or any more than necessary. You don't know what's going to happen. So that's very adventurous. But also, if it's you and your voice, then it's your adventure. And if it isn't, like if you're crafting your speech or manipulating in any way,
or grifting, which is the new word. Everybody's a grifter. Everybody's, getting banned for saying this and that, but they're grifting instead of just saying, the accepted narrative, which would get them way more money, way faster, with way less pushback and way less work. But yeah, well, thank you. He said half is okay. Lil Toes said your existence is okay.
Parroting or abiding by the dictates of the crowd, then
NPCs.
I don't know whose adventure you're having, but it's not yours.
On free speech.
Oof, I don't know whose adventure you're having, but you're not having yours. Jordan Peterson!
It seems to me, in my 57 years of being on this planet, that free speech has never been under more ferocious attack. Not in places you would expect, like authoritarian regimes, but actually in democracies. I never thought I'd come to a day in my lifetime where people were literally being fired or in some cases imprisoned for expressing honestly held opinions, even if I find those opinions grotesquely wrong or offensive.
It's worse than that. People underestimate the significance.
I bet there is people who have never even heard the phrase, I disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. I bet you there's people alive today talking about politics publicly who have never even heard that phrase. But we're all going to be fine, guys. Don't worry.
Significance of this, because it isn't, we're not having a fight about who has the right to speak freely. That's nothing. That's a peripheral problem, even though
we're not arguing about who should have the right. I would disagree with that. I would say if you are a liberal woman, you can say anything you want. Well, unless you're white. So if you're a liberal woman of color, well, unless you're straight. So if you're a gay woman of color, you can say anything you want. I mean, what am I talking about? What am I talking about? There was a, I don't know what she was, but she was a non-white female who literally firebombed a police car during the George Floyd, I think it was George Floyd or Jacob Blake riots. And they let her off because she was dealing with trauma from George Floyd or whoever it was. She firebombed a police car. She threw a Molotov cocktail. But,
that can be serious.
I definitely disagree with that.
In and of itself. We're having a fight about whether or not your claim that free speech exists is nothing but a masquerade for your willingness to dominate and use power. And so if I was taking that tack, I'd say,
let's do that again.
For your claim.
So the claim is, so he's saying he's saying the argument is not who has free speech, which I disagree with. And then I think what he's saying, they're not mutually exclusive, but I do think we are having that argument. But he's claiming that the argument is that
free speech exists.
Okay.
Is nothing but a masquerade for your
so the free speech that exists is nothing
willingness to dominate and use power.
Is nothing but a masquerade for your willingness to use to dominate and use power. I'm too dumb for that.
And so if I was taking that tack, I'd say, it's all well and good for you to speak about free speech, but look, you're white and you're middle class and you're British and you're privileged, and you have this theory about free speech that your ancestors derived, but the only reason they ever derived that to begin with is so they could exercise their power. There's no such thing as free speech. That's just a lie to mask a power claim. And that's a way worse cynical criticism of the notion of free speech than you can't speak because I don't agree with.
I mean, it's a form of fascism, isn't it? I mean, these people
It's worse than that.
the kind of the ultra woke brigade out there. They categorize themselves as liberals, but there's nothing liberal about that mentality. When you have a cancel culture, which is driven by if you don't agree with what I say, you're going to get shamed, vilified, cancelled, fired, maybe even imprisoned. That is actually what fascist regimes do to people. to their populace.
Yeah, but the fascist.
Is it? Is it really? Really? And I mean, you know, I say that sarcastically, but it doesn't seem like most people know that. Doesn't seem like most people have a problem that we're going down that exact road. So maybe I shouldn't be making fun of it.
Are more straightforward about it because they basically come out and say something like, shut up or we'll beat you.
Right.
Whereas the compassionate types.
Hey, let me change your mind. Hey, let me change your mind. Let me hear you out and then change your mind. That's where the compassionate types are like.
Who are narcissistic, compassionate
I don't know about narcissistic
types. They come out and say, well, we're really trying to save the world, you know, and we're acting in everyone's best interest. And we think it would be better if you should just, you know, regulate what you say.
If you don't use the right genders, the whole world's gonna die.
Because if you don't, you're not a good person. And so it's much more. I'd take the fascist bully over the narcissistic, over the compassionate narcissist anytime.
Absolutely. I would much rather take the one who says, well, you're a piece of shit, so I don't want you to talk, versus, don't you want to be a good, who the subversive person? Did he just say that? I don't think he did. Subversive. The subversion, the act of being virtuous when you're not. And it becomes even more insidious when they think they are, just like the person in the beginning. They were like, well, you're my enemy because you won't use my pronouns. And what was Peterson's response? Well, I don't think using pronouns that aren't, I don't think using your pronoun like that is going to help you in the long run. That's not good. And if you are actually willing to have the conversation, we can determine why. But no, you're my enemy. You're bad. I'm good.
Way more straightforward.
I mean, we live again in an era where the hashtag be kind almost invariably is used by people who are the least kind people I think I've ever encountered. In other words, people that love to be utterly vicious.
Yeah, well, kindness.
And yet they hide behind this fake persona of hashtag be kind.
Yeah. Well, kindness is tricky, you know, because one of the things you deal with very commonly if you're a clinical psychologist, apart from depression and anxiety, is, well, behavior therapists offer assertiveness training. And now the people who need assertiveness training are often people who are too agreeable, compassionate, polite by temperament. Now, the problem with that is that they let people walk all over them because they don't stand up enough for themselves. And the consequence of that is they get resentful, and then they get bitter, and then they get conniving, and then they'll mob. And so, because they'll do anything for everyone else, but they push themselves beyond their limits, and then they won't even recognize the limits because they feel, well, if I'm not doing everything for you, then I'm not a good person. It's like, no, a good person.
And that is the bigotry. I realize I do that a lot. That is the bigotry of low expectations. You see the white liberal who's talking about, well, black people this and black people that and black people, we need to blah, blah, blah. So wait a minute. Do you think that just because you're white, you're inherently better at doing things than black people? Sounds like white supremacy to me. I've never heard it. I've never seen it. And I'm a pretty kind person. And I surround myself with pretty kind people. And you know what kind people don't have to do? Remind themselves to be kind.
Person does a little for you. Like if I'm acting properly with you, say in this conversation, there's something in it for you and there's something in it for me, right? And we want that to be reciprocal. And so the cost of me bending too far in your direction is that I'll become bitter and resentful and conniving. And resentment is an unbelievably toxic state of being.
Take a short break. I want to come back and talk to you about a random collection of people. Cristiano Ronaldo, the most famous footballer on the planet, the greatest in my opinion, and also Olivia Wilde, who has made a movie in which she said it's about you because you're the guy that drives up the worst human beings on planet Earth. We'll listen to all those things after the break.
All right, let's do it. Good stuff.
Welcome back to this special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored, one-on-one with Dr. Jordan Peterson. So, a weird thing happened about 2 weeks ago. I was on Instagram and suddenly I popped this picture. And it was you with a friend of mine, Cristiano Ronaldo, the football genius, greatest player to ever.
So before he goes there, I mean, obviously this is being set up, especially because they use that picture in the beginning. This is obviously set up that Ronaldo got some pushback online for taking a picture with Peterson. I didn't hear about that, but I'm also not a soccer fan. So I don't know how far that went. Did you guys hear about Cristiano Ronaldo and his picture with Jordan Peterson?
Play the game, as far as I'm concerned, and you'd been to see it just privately, and he was saying how great it was that he met you and you'd gone there, and all hell broke loose. He was bombarded with people saying this is outrageous, legend over, legacy finished, none of which would have bothered him because he'd heard all this kind of thing before. But the venom of it was from certain quarters was so pathetic, it seemed to me. So first of all, what were you doing with Cristiano? Why were you there?
Well, he invited me to come and see him, and he had had some trouble in his life a few months ago, and a friend of his sent him some of my videos, and he said he had watched those, and then he read my book, one of my books, and found them very helpful.
Imagine that.
And he wanted to talk. So I went out to his house.
So wait a minute. You're telling me that a person, a man who's not doing so well, at least relative to their own life, is watching Jordan Peterson and even reading his books? And he didn't go up to school or something? I don't believe it. I don't believe that. That's all Jordan Peterson's good for, right?
We talked for about 2 hours, and he showed me all his equipment for keeping himself in tip-top condition, and we talked a bit about his companies.
Steroids.
But mostly we talked about what he wanted in the future and some of the obstacles that he's facing while pursuing that. And so we had a strategic conversation, I would say, for about, on those topics for about 90 minutes.
Were you, in a way, the Ted Lasso figure in his life?
I don't get the joke. I didn't watch Ted Lasso. Yes or no? Should I watch Ted Lasso?
That's what it felt like.
He didn't realize he was missing?
Yeah. Well, I think maybe he did realize that he was missing it because he seemed to have found it to some degree in those lectures. And so, and I always like to hear not only what people are up to, but what they want. And one of the things I loved about my clinical practice, which was very much predicated on this, like, well, you're miserable, let's say, and not to say that he was, because he has a good life in many ways, but if you could envision a path forward out of your misery, let's say, to somewhere better, what would that look like? And it's not a question people ask themselves with enough depth. And then having developed that vision, what are the strategies that might be put in place to make that more likely? And again, not in a manipulative way, but if you had to conduct yourself in the proper manner to bring about this desirable end, or at least to move towards it, how would you organize your behavior?
When someone like Cristiano, who, we know what the personal problem was. He'd lost a baby and his partner was incredible.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, definitely, regardless of who you are, regardless of how much money you have and how good at a certain thing you are, losing a baby is going to be a dark, dark thing to go through. Am I dissing? I'm not getting involved with it. You guys
professionally, after that, a lot of turmoil as to whether he was going to stay at his club and so on and so on. It seemed to me, talking to him in the last couple of days after he saw you, he's in a much better place.
Imagine that.
That's what happens when you hang out with reprobate like
really interesting to me. So
the free ego has returned. Where you been, brother? What's good? What is good? Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Yeah, we're just watching the full interview. Jordan Peterson sits down with Piers Morgan on Uncensored. Welcome, brother. Welcome.
You and he both got criticized for just seeing each other. But actually, it was clearly very helpful to
Well, I hope so. That would be lovely if it was true.
It's a weird position, isn't it? There's you, Dr. Jordan Peterson, this guy that comes out of Canada, lecturing students, and then you're at the home of the greatest football player of all time, and you're genuinely helping him. I mean, Ronaldo is known as one of the most mentally strong athletes has ever been.
Yeah, right.
Not just physically, but mentally strong. And yet he needed someone like you to help him. I find that really fascinating.
Well, I don't know if he needed me because he's a pretty competent guy, but you know, you can always, and this is something that very competent people do. You can always improve on the edge, you know?
Mhm.
And so his life is very well put together, and he had some trouble, but people do. But we talked a lot about what he wanted, how.
If Jordan Peterson can help Ronaldo, granted, he was going through a tough time, but if he can help Ronaldo, then, hey, Free Ego got a job. Let's go. Cheers to the Free Ego. Put those bills in the fucking ground. Let's go. Good job, brother. Very proud of you. Very proud of you. But you know, the notion that he could help somebody like that, to think that he can't help normal people, much less like the incel community. I mean, come on. It's just haters. It's just haters.
he wanted his career to end in the most graceful possible manner, and how that might be optimized. And so
I hope you told him
very well.
to sign for Arsenal in the January transfer window. Did you, Jordan?
No, I
Did
didn't
you
give
shoot
him,
my club?
I don't give, I try not to give people advice.
But, I mean, I'm curious on that because he's obviously reaching not the end of his career by any means. He's still a world-class player, and he's incredibly fit, so he could play for another 3-4 years perhaps. But what is an end game for someone who's achieved everything in the game?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. It's hard for people who have had a stellar career, especially one that's to some degree predicated on youth, to figure out what to do with the rest of their life. Now, he's well set up because he's a very canny businessman, and he has a young family, and he has lots of friends. And as far as I can tell on that front, he's situated himself extremely intelligently. So I think it looks to me like the transition for him is going to be quite smooth. So, but that's a testament to his wisdom, because
I mean, that's something that we talk about all the time. You know, in most sports, there is a distance between you and the athletes, even the big name athletes. That's not how it works in MMA, and specifically in the UFC. They put a lot of money into marketing the personalities because it's just one-on-one when you're fighting. The only way they can sell these fights is for you to be a fan of the person, as opposed to, you know, whatever team Ronaldo's on. You could be a fan of that team, and then if he leaves, you know, it's just different. So in MMA, it's very poignant that, you know, this mental state of, what are you doing now? This is being in the UFC is a short period of time. It's an opportunity to get your name out there, and then you got to do something. And you see people like Conor McGregor who can turn that into multi-million dollar success. But then you get, you know, the Mark Kerr, and, you know, struggling with CTE, struggling with his family, struggling with money, and it's sad. It's sad that they, you know, these other sports, they have avenues for guys, you know, to transition out into real life. UFC ain't like that. They're just like, peace. So maybe more UFC fighters need to talk to Jordan Peterson. You know, Zuckerberg rented out the entire event tomorrow, but maybe next week it's Peterson's turn.
he made sure that his life was founded on more than one dimension of attainment, and that was very wise. And
Does it make you feel? Does it make you feel good that even
He keeps interrupting him.
people like him can find great solace from watching your lectures?
Well, all that makes me feel good. I mean, I do think that this is part of the reason I keep going on these lecture tours, is that it seems to be doing people good. So
Let me ask you about kids. What
Jesus.
by kids, I mean young adults, really, and then into their 20s, trying to form their way through life. One of my favorite movies.
I thought that was going a much different direction, and I'm not even trying to have that conversation right now.
Movie clips is Rocky Balboa. It's probably the non-intellectual version of Jordan Peterson in many ways, because he said this to his son, who's getting a bit spoiled.
Guys, seriously, there's no way. There is no way this video is going to be able to stay up. So please, if you can, hit the cash out. Like, at least hit the like button.
Entitled and moaning about being Rocky's son and so on. And he says this to
So
him.
I'd mute this, but I mean, whatever.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
Again, do you know how many UFC fighters quote that all the time as their favorite line? That's iconic. That's an iconic scene. Frigo says Ronaldo and Messi were the face of FIFA and PES. Like the PES dispensers? I'm assuming not. And all other soccer games for like a decade or more. There's another guy. Never mind. I don't remember. For like a decade or more. Definitely an aspect of people attaching themselves to the players, but not more than fighting. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't allow it. It just doesn't allow it because, if especially because players can become can be traded and move around, and the team is not necessarily the same season to season. So you can either follow around one player and just be like, okay, I'm gonna root for that team. You can be OD and be like, okay, I like these 7 guys and they're on these 9, these 5 teams. So you can do that, or you can do what most people do. And this is my team. Oh, we got Ronaldo. Oh no, we lost Ronaldo. Hey, we got Messi. Oh, that's what it is in most sports because it's a team sport. And I mean, it's the same for other individual sports too, but I think right now, I don't think there's any other individual sports that are bigger than MMA, right? I mean, especially the UFC. I don't think like, I'm thinking tennis, but even still, that's not, I mean, maybe pulling in more money, but in terms of the culture, definitely UFC is getting much more headlines. Hey, we got NBA goalie in the building saying a bunch of bullshit, but I love it. Welcome, brother. Welcome. We are watching Jordan Peterson exclusive on Piers Morgan Uncensored.
That's how winning is done.
That's not him, by the way.
Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I
Great
love
scene.
that speech.
Yeah, it's good.
Great scene. Yeah. Rile me up. Hell yeah.
What do you think of it?
Well, that ethos was what lifted up Sylvester Stallone to stardom very rapidly with his first movie. And what do I think about that? I think
That was the first Rocky? Why did he look so old?
that young people are literally dying for that message. I mean literally. They're so demoralized. It's just beyond.
All right, I want to back this up because now we're getting you've all seen the clip. We're getting towards where he is talking about. So I'm going to back this up a little bit. Yes, that was Rocky who was saying, Piers Morgan was saying that that scene was essentially the dumbed down version of the Jordan Peterson message. And just saying like, yeah, life sucks, but it is what it is. You can either sit there and cry about it, or you can take the hand that you're dealt and play it. There is no other option. So yeah, I'm going to back this up a little bit.
That ethos was what lifted up Sylvester Stallone to stardom very rapidly with his first movie. And what do I think about that? I think that young people are literally dying for that message. I mean literally. They're so demoralized. It's just beyond belief. And so one of the things that's been painful about what I've been doing with my wife as we've traveled around the world for the last number of years is to see how desperate people are for an encouraging word.
You can already see he's starting to get he's changing his tone already. Now we know that he cries. I know that you're just having fun, and that's totally cool. But so many people really are genuinely making fun of him. And maybe I'll just let it. Maybe we'll talk about it after. But it's so sad that this is the again, flip the genders, flip the whatever. And the way that this is treated, it simply would not be. It certainly wouldn't be on a show like this. And I don't know. Let's
take a break and find out what that encouraging word should be. I want to know why a lot of young people are very anxious about life. Why is that? And what's the best way for them to come through it?
Yep.
We'll deal with that after.
Already?
More from
Look at his eyes. Oh my God. You can see it.
I want to know why a lot of young people are very anxious.
Look at that. Look at that. You can see it. He's already getting a glossy eye.
About life. Why is that? And what's the best way for them to come through it?
Yep.
We'll deal with that after the break. More from Jordan Peterson in a few minutes.
Hit the like button.
Well, welcome back to this special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored, one-on-one with Dr. Jordan Peterson. We left him on the cliffhanger with Rocky Balboa and his address to his son about how to grow a pair, for want of a better phrase. This idea that actually your life is defined not so much by success, because you're everyone's friend when you're successful, but by the knocks you inevitably are going to get, whether it's through losing loved ones, losing a job, losing a car, whatever it may be. You're going to get hit by blows in your life of differing magnitude. And I've always believed that how you deal with the downside of life really defines how you lead the rest of your life.
Well, the clip is very interesting because it starts out with the admission that life is brutally difficult and sometimes unbearably brutally difficult. And you can see the progressives playing with that notion. It's warped into this sense of victimization, but it does reflect some understanding of the underlying tragic reality of life. And so it's good to get that right out on the table to begin with. Say, well, you're miserable. You have your reasons.
Yeah, Little Toes is. I didn't understand what you meant at first, but those making fun of him for crying are the same ones. They're like, oh, toxic masculinity. Why are you more in touch with your femininity? Why aren't you touching your feelings? And then somebody actually cares. Like, what a soy boy. What a. Okay. Sorry, Little Toes, you are on point there.
And they might be deep reasons, but if you let the misery demoralize you and make you bitter and cynical and cowardly and make you withdraw, then first of all, that's a failure in the highest sense on your part, and all it's going to do is make everything worse. And then you might think, well, what do you have to respond to that? How do you respond?
I mean, I thought he was going to say, what do you have to live for? I'll be very open and honest that I spent probably a third of my life with self-ending ideation. And it came from, a realization. I mean, early on, I was young when I first thought about it. Like you shouldn't be thinking about that when you're that young. I was like 11 years old. You shouldn't even know what self-deletion is when you're 11. Part of the reason why the email from my mom is not just an email from my mom is because of everything that happened before that. And we don't need to get into all of that, but certainly, unfortunately she was at the heart of a lot of it. I was lucky enough to be born into a family where my dad was and still is a doctor and was able to provide for my family very well. And then I was even more blessed in the sense that my parents didn't grow up that way, didn't even grow up in this country. And so they understood the benefit of not spoiling their kids. And so I was able to live a blessed life of not having to worry about money issues without not getting spoiled. And I don't want to that's exactly what I was going to get to. There's no point in comparing anybody's trauma or whatever you want to call it to each other. We all have our own shit, and all we know is our own shit. So, there's definitely certain things that are demonstrably worse, but like the worst thing that's ever happened to you is still the worst thing that ever happened to you. Even if you're super rich and you have a great family and whatever the worst thing that's ever happened to you, it's still the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So it's all relative. And it took a long time to realize that everything that Rocky Balboa said was more than true. And it doesn't matter how many benefits and blessings you have in life, it's still gonna knock the shit out of you. It's still gonna make you want to give up at times. I mean, I can't speak for you guys. It definitely made me want that. Hey, we got Division Plus saying the benefit of not spoiling. I love that. Thank you. I will pass the message along to my parents. Thank you for hanging out. Yeah, we're just watching the full interview of the Jordan Peterson and Piers Morgan show. Point being, I think that no matter who you are, life is going to be life. And learning to deal with that and learning to reject the messaging that we get from the media all over the place, that you're a victim and that somebody else is responsible and the government should fix it for you. Yeah, you could, I would pay that. You could definitely just wallow in that and stay a victim your whole life. Society is now set up for that. But that's not what you want. That's not what anybody wants. It may seem nice. It may, I know all too well, both from drug addiction. Oh, what's up, buddy? Hey, he's on YouTube. All right, word up. Now, I'm good. So now I don't ever have to go back to Twitch ever again. Glad to have you, buddy. What was I saying? It's just tough. It's just tough, man. And you especially when you don't have a God to believe in, who you believe is like, okay, this is all part of a plan. Let me just trust that somebody's looking out and putting the pieces together. And this is a tribulation that God wouldn't give me anything more than I couldn't handle. Yeah. Tell that to all of the self-deleted people, because don't think they handled it very well. When you don't have that, you're left with nothing. And you really have to try hard. You really have to go searching for people who understand that that is the case. Not that you're a bad person and you're trying to learn how to be a good person. You're just a person who had a certain set of beliefs and values that you don't even, not that you got rid of them, that you don't even know if you can trust them anymore. And as Christian, and he is Christian, as Christian as Jordan Peterson is, because I do think that his journey to truth is something that's stronger in his message that he puts out publicly. I think that's what's important. When I talk about, leaving dogmatic language out of our politics and out of our culture, I think Jordan Peterson has come to do a very good job with it. I understand his old lectures are basically about biblical stories, but even then, he is not telling you a biblical story. He's not talking about Sodom and Gomorrah because he's saying, "Oh, if you're opulent, then that's a sin." He's talking about the how it relates to real life, tangible life, actual things that might get you addicted. Like I said, as a drug addict and as somebody who was not very happy growing up, then there are situations that you accept that, like, okay, this kind of sucks, but it's going to lead to something better. Specifically, trying to buy drugs. I don't know if you've ever bought drugs. I mean, weed, depending on where you are, weed doesn't count. Because if you just got a dude who just pulls up to the house, when you got to go to the shady neighborhood, and dude's like, all right, I'll be there in 5. It's like, all right, bro, I don't care. Take as long as you need. Just like, let me know, because I don't have time to sit around. Then you already have anxiety. You're already doing something illegal. You're already somewhere you're not used to. And again, I don't know if you know this, But drug dealer time is not the same as regular time. So 5 minutes to a drug dealer could be 20 minutes, could be an hour, could be 3 hours. And your dumbass is like, well, what else am I going to do? But I know that there's somebody who is making sure that before this is over, I'm going to have my drugs. Life doesn't work like that. And when you realize that there's more care in the eye of the drug dealer than this supposed God, it's hard. And luckily, I'm older now, and I've gone through that stage, and I've learned how to deal with things more in a more healthy way. But it was a journey. And again, as I talk about all the time, if I had social media when I was 11, would not be here. Would not be here. Yeah, exactly. Division Plus. I don't like that. I'm going to call you Ponthal. No, Division Plus says, he uses the Bible for analogies and metaphors, which is how it should be used, if at all. I think there are some great stories in there that can be just completely divorced from the Bible. But if you are going to use it, then analogies and metaphors all the way. All right. This might be, there's no way that I do not ever shed a tear on this stream. There's no way. I'm an emotional dude. I cry at movies. It hasn't happened yet. We're almost a year in. It hasn't happened yet. And I've seen the actual part of that clip a number of times. So it's probably not going to be tonight. But it might. Let's find out. Am I a bitch?
On to that catastrophe and challenge. And the answer is, and this is what Rocky is telling his son in no uncertain terms, is like, terrible as things are, there's a lot more to you than you can possibly imagine. And that if you face those things forthrightly and with some faith and courage, then you can have the adventure of your life and prevail even over catastrophe. And that's true.
Right.
So,
I couldn't really get my head around why so many young people feel so anxious all the time.
I would love to ask him why he thinks that. Yo, if you didn't cry watching Click, you are not a human. You don't have a soul. There is no way you can watch Click and not cry. Adam Sandler definitely is a top G. Oh, yeah. I'm very curious how Piers Morgan is confused about how young people are anxious all the time. Look at the world. Look how different the world is from when you were a teenager. He's 57. I'm not doing that kind of math, but what is that? He was probably in his 20s in the 70s. Is that sounds right? Like, what a different world we live in. What do you mean? Why are people anxious?
When I was young, when that wasn't really a big thing amongst my friendship group, certainly. But I
That's great. Well, you're young. You're young. There's I'm gonna think about another movie. Let me sit on that because you're probably too young to have the life experience to understand, like, oh my God, like you're actually losing spoiler alert, but that there's a lot of emotion off a very silly premise. And you're young, so I'm gonna think of the Gen Z version of it. If you didn't cry to this, because like the real millennial version is Bambi or Lion King. I just watched a TikTok of a millennial mom. So how old was Free Ego when you watched it though? But I just saw a millennial mom, filming her daughter watching the scene where what's his name? Simba's dad. Where Simba's dad dies. I forget what Simba's dad, but and she's like, oh no, oh he's mom, oh Scar's gonna save him. Scar's gonna. Oh wait, what? This is daddy. Oh, Simba's gonna help his daddy. He's gonna help him. And the girl's like, ah! And not gonna lie, I very much enjoyed watching that.
I reckon it's two things. One, social media, the constant bombardment of other people having a great time or looking great, often a false imagery, and that having to live up to false ideals. But also a conversation I had with Dr. Phil in America, where his explanation for it was that he said, you've got to understand that social media means that young people now are being bombarded all day long and all night long with quite shocking imagery. And he gave an example. He said, when I was young, he said, if a crocodile ate somebody on a golf course in Florida, the chances are I would never have heard about it. It probably wouldn't have made the national news, probably wouldn't have even made the
So this is him answering his own question about why people are more anxious.
State news, and I wouldn't have heard about this incident. Now, it's quite likely that a video of the crocodile eating this person would be whipping its way around social media within half an hour. And young kids would be sharing it, disseminating it, and being exposed to this constant imagery all the time of quite unsettling and shocking imagery. What do you think of that theory? And that,
Well, I think
that in itself was adding to a sense of everything's terrible.
Well, I think it's a corollary of an information overload theory, right? I mean, one of the advantages
What?
to having
I said that, I heard it, and I was jokingly like, huh? But I actually didn't hear what he said.
theory of an information overload
Information overload. Okay, I just didn't hear what he said.
theory, right? I mean, one of the advantages to having the computational power we have is that everything is at your fingertips. And the disadvantage is that everything's in your face. And by everything, it might be 40 million pornographic images. Like, that's a lot. Or an endless array of tragic scenarios, and really endless. And so that's a problem. And the fundamental problem is, how do you handle the fire hose of information? And no one really knows the answer to that.
That's horrible. That's horrible. I don't want to read this out loud, but yeah, again, that's why I say, if I was 11 and I had because I went through a period when I was like I think it was after college, where I was just lonely and a loser and a little bit of a beta, actually a bit of a beta. And I would just like get drunk and like drunk text people. And like, I had enough just life experience to be like, oh, don't cross the line. But it was like, a call for attention. I'm just like having a really bad night. Can you just like talk to me? And if I was 11 years old and I knew that I could make a video of doing something like this and everybody would see it, I don't know if I could have not done it. I don't know.
But we should also point out that it's no wonder that young people are demoralized and anxious, because we're doing everything we can to demoralize them and make them anxious. So on the masculine front, we tell young boys that, well, the world's a terrible patriarchal tyranny, and all of that patriarchal tyranny, which is the whole explanation for history, has done nothing but oppress and exploit people and destroy the planet. And so that any manifestation of that masculine impulse on your part is equivalent to the world-destroying force.
Well, all masculinity now is branded toxic.
Yup.
And I remember, I think
there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. There is only behavior that comes from a lack of masculinity. I will say that one more time for the people in the back. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. There is only behavior that manifests from a lack of masculinity. Being a dick to people is not masculine behavior. Having to puff your chest out is not masculine behavior. Trying to flex, literally or figuratively, is not inherently masculine. I mean, the argument can be made there, but masculinity is closer to, at least the way they talk about it, is closer to stoicism. Is the ability, isn't having emotions or not having emotions. It's having emotions and also the ability to control them, so that when you don't feel like going to work, you suck it the fuck up and you do what you have to do. When you're having a bad day, you don't take it out on somebody else. That is some bitch shit that would be labeled as toxic masculinity when really it is the absence of masculinity.
Key moment for me came when Gillette, who'd always had these very...
We already know where this one's going, and so does he. Gillette, the best a man can, well, could have got. Shout out to Jeremy's Razors. Put a 1 in the chat. If you're not familiar with Jeremy's Razors, we'll stop this and watch that commercial right now.
Very masculine commercials.
And you want to watch
big
it.
guy cuddling a baby or whatever it may be. They suddenly switched gears and did a campaign where it started with a lot of Me Too imagery and basically the assumption that all men are awful until they can prove otherwise. And I predicted in a column this would be a complete disaster for them. And sure enough, $9 billion later, they did a screeching U-turn and went back to the big guy cuddling the babies. Because actually, two things I think about that. One, most men are not awful, actually.
Actually, really? You don't say. You mean most of half of all the people actually happen not to be awful all the time? I mean, I knowing where this goes, this is a smile. But it's not like, ha ha ha, that was a good one. It's like, oh, honey, sweetie baby, you have no fucking clue. Even though you just listed all the fucking things that make it so that people are worse off than they've ever been, even though the country is better off, the world is better off, I mean, for the most part, than it's ever been. But, you know, most men actually, I don't know if you know this, are not actually awful. Not all the time. For fuck's sake.
About that. One, most men are not awful, actually. And secondly,
not all the time.
No, some men are, obviously. Some women are pretty awful. But
No.
not most of them.
He goes, no, 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 women being awful? That doesn't happen. Come on. Oh, JBP for the win on that one. Oh, my God.
No, some men are, obviously. Some women are pretty awful. But not most of them. But if you try saying that and not getting cancelled. But I think also this thing that you've got into trouble about, which I don't understand why, that you believe that most women probably quite like their men to be strong and confident.
I don't believe that. All the data shows that.
Right.
Clear.
Let's hear it one more time.
Understand why? That you believe that most women probably quite...
Hold on. We have two people who have not seen the Jeremy's Razors commercial. So that is a must-see immediately. That's a great thumbnail. I mean, if you're scrolling, you don't click on that. I mean, come on. That's a great thumbnail. Jeremy's Razors. So this was in response to the Gillette ad that they were just talking about. The people from the Daily Wire. You might, if you're not, that doesn't ring a bell. Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, Michael knows those people. The people from the Daily Wire. The founder, Jeremy Boring. He saw that, and I'm not even gonna spoil it. Let's just give it to you straight, and then we'll get back into it. So let me change. In case this is the only part that doesn't get we stay up, then let's add a separate banner for that. Actually, wait. Anticipation makes it better. There we go. Boom. Okay. Are you ready?
Do you remember when there were two genders and only 1.5 of them had to shave their mustaches?
If you like this commercial and you have not hit the like button, please hit the like button.
Oh, hi. I'm Jeremy Boring, CEO and God King of the Daily Wire. Harry's Razors used to advertise on our shows. They're a great product, and we were happy.
Oh, actually, that's right. I forgot about that part. So real quick, I was thinking Gillette, but after Gillette did their thing, Harry's Razors kind of followed suit. Long story short, they were Harry's Razor was a sponsor of the Daily Wire. Then somebody with two followers and no profile picture on Twitter tweeted at Harry's Razors and was like, why do you support these guys? They're like racist, misogynist, something like that. And Harry's Razors was like, oh no, I didn't know. Okay. And they dropped the Daily Wire.
Happy to do it. That's before some peon who works for me went and said that boys are boys and girls are girls. And that was just too much for Harry's. They condemned our views. Views held by millions of Americans and virtually every human who's walked the planet until about 15 minutes ago as inexcusable. And they dropped their ads from our network because of what they called values misalignment. You're damn right our values are misaligned. And it's not just Harry's either. Gillette razors used to be the best a man could get. Then they decided that men are too toxic. Unless you're the kind of man who teaches his daughter to shave her beard. If that makes sense to you, keep buying Gillette.
Notice Johnny the Walrus.
But if you've had enough of the woke bullshit, and you're tired of paying companies like Harry's and Gillette to hate you,
there's definitely a reason she's standing here in front of the Gillette thing, because they definitely would have. Like, why else would you not be able to see the name?
you can buy my new razor instead.
Oh, I guess I was wrong about that.
Behold, Jeremy's razors. Yes, they're real. Yes, they're fabulous. But Jeremy, you say, you're a stealth silver fox with a salt and pepper beard that's the envy of lesser men. You're damn right I am. And I want to be clear that shaving with a Jeremy's razor won't actually make you look more like me.
You're giving me fierce. You're giving me power.
Could make you look more like this guy, though.
Pause!
And that's the most homoerotic moment you'll ever get from a Jeremy's razor commercial. What kind of man shaves with a Jeremy's razor? I don't know. How about cowboys, firefighters, those guys that shot
I did not see a comment about Brett Cooper. I do not know.
Osama bin Laden? I mean, no, none of those guys have ever even heard of a Jeremy's razor, but imagine how much more manly they'd be if they had.
Woo! Shout out to Michael Knowles.
Right now, you're probably wondering if this whole thing is a joke. Sure it is. That doesn't mean it isn't real, or that it won't be the best shave of your life. Harry's Razors doesn't want your business. I do. They seem to hate you. And I can't say that I love you, but I don't mean you any specific harm. Our country's in trouble. Conservatives are being canceled by Hollywood, the media, universities, and now Harry's Razors. Stop giving your money to woke corporations who don't think you deserve their product. Give it to me instead.
Head over to I Hate Harry's.
That is G shit. That is G shit. So I just need to show you that because if you haven't seen it, then you got to see it. Anyway, let's back this up a little bit and get back into it.
That not getting cancelled. But I think also this thing that you've got into trouble
And Little Toes, I said, shit, me too.
about, which I don't understand why, that you believe that most women probably quite like their men to be strong and confident.
No.
I don't believe that. All the data shows that
Right.
clearly. Cultural samples and has for 50 years. Plus, everyone knows it.
Anecdotally, most women I know, I think, would absolutely agree.
So?
Why is it that you've been so vilified for suggesting something which is so palpably true?
Unless you're 16, then this does not concern me at the least.
Well, I think, first of all, that annoys narcissistic women, no end.
And it annoys people who think that there are no biological or cultural limits on how we manifest our behaviors. And also,
Gender is just a social construct.
also it frightens a large number of women because many women have never had a good relationship with anyone masculine in their life. And so the notion that they would need to establish a trusting relationship with a man, especially if he's also in something approximating a superordinate position.
I'm not putting that up my toes. I definitely, the former, I definitely care.
Which is what they might like to find him maximally attractive, also implies that they're in some sense going to be under his sway. And if there's no trust there, well, that's absolutely terrifying. And
actually, before we got, there's no other proper time to tell this story. So we're going to do it now before he gets into it. Not a long story, but relevant to, I guess I will bring this up. But so, so Lil Toes is talking about Brett Cooper, and Frigo's like, yo, she's like 21 years old. Oh no, that must mean she's a child. Or I think 18 is 18. Not like I'm going after 18-year-olds, but I'm just saying, like, 21, it's 21. Like, you're a grown-ass woman. If you can get into a bar, we good to go. That's pretty much where I draw the line. And then Lil Toes made this joke. So I have not been on dating apps in quite a while, but the last time I got matched with this cute girl. You know, she looked like maybe about that age, a little bit younger, but she was cute. You know, she had a little body. And we were talking, and she seemed pretty cool. Whatever. Get her phone number. We're texting. And, she's sending me a little bit of this. And I guess it was that night or the next morning or whatever. I get a text that's like, who is this? Like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you've been talking to me? You just fucking showed me your titties. What are you talking about? And it was a dude pretending to be the parent of a 16-year-old girl that I was talking to, apparently, which I was not. Because, first of all, you have to be 18 to be on the sites. Sure, you can lie about it. But if your child is on a dating site talking to 30-year-old men, that's on you. She said she was 27 or 20, whatever. And she sure as shit did not look like a child. I was going to say I know what, but I mean, there's some gray area, but she was not in it. Let's put it that way. And so I knew that this dude was like just trying to, he's like, oh, my wife's going crazy. Just call me. I want to talk to you and figure this out. You want to figure this out? You want to figure this out? You supposedly have an underage daughter who supposedly is talking to a 30-year-old man and supposedly sending underage stuff. And you want to work it out? I don't think that's how that works usually. I was like, I'm not fucking stupid, bro. Call the cops. You fucked up. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. She told me, the app said she was this age. I asked her how old she was. She told me that she was the same age. And then he goes, oh, no. It started because he called me. I thought it was her. And I was like, hello? Who is this? I'm like, who the fuck is this? And he's like, it's, I'm just throwing a name out there. He's like, it's Kelsey's dad. I was like, well, that's cute because the girl I was talking to was named April or something. So get your story straight. You're in the bag. What do you mean? What do you mean? What? No, I just secured nothing. I secured nothing. I don't care if it was fake or real. If there's any inkling that something is amiss, I want no part of it. I want no part of it. If you're lying to me about being underage, I don't need you. Go lie to somebody else. That is not something I am interested in. I did not secure anything. Facts. All right, let's back that up. Sorry, I just had to. I don't know what. Like, when else am I supposed to tell that story? I gotta tell you guys that. You guys gotta know that shit. But that, dudes will try. I'll be like, all right, just pay me like $10,000 and we'll keep this quiet. That's where that was going. I don't know what the number was, but that's where that was going. I'm not stupid. So if you find yourself in that situation, ask yourself, does this seem real? And if you know, I hope I don't even have to tell you not to fucks with her. I mean, you youngins, I know you got the 4-year thing. So, like, if you're 19 and she's 17 or something, then, you know, it's all kosher. I'm talking about grown-ass motherfuckers and non-grown-ass motherfuckers. That's what we're talking about here. Let's get back into it.
Some sense going to be under his sway. And if there's no trust,
Yeah, I'm going to back it up again.
a proper need to establish a relationship with anyone masculine in their life.
Yeah, saying most women haven't had a relationship with anyone masculine in their
life. And so the notion that they would need to establish a trusting relationship with a man, especially if he's also in something approximating a superordinate position, which is what they might like to find him maximally attractive, also implies that they're in some sense going to be under his sway. And if there's no trust there, well, that's absolutely terrifying. And I have some sympathy for that, because there are no shortage of women out there who've never had a positive relationship with anyone masculine. And so they're completely unable to discriminate between narcissistic power and compulsion and confident competence.
To translate, these women don't have the experience to, hey, we got Arm with My Opinions is back. Welcome, said 13. Oh, so they said 13,000 people watching me. I don't give a shit. No, so 13,000 people are watching Amaranth play competitive Twister while this stream only gets to on Twitch. Such a shame. I hear ya. At least we got about 5 people on YouTube. That's really where I mark it anyway. But I appreciate the sentiment, and I am glad that you armed my opinions. I'm glad that you are here. We are, I'm sure you've seen the clip of Jordan Peterson crying on Piers Morgan's show. We're watching the whole damn thing, and he's about to get into it. So again, I'm gonna back it up. So he was, he's saying the difference between narcissistic power and compulsion and confident competence. Basically, what? Thanks for stopping by, Little Toes. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so. He's saying that because these women haven't actually had masculinity in their life, whether it's because they grew up without a father, or because society has feminized men, or because she's made terrible decisions, whatever the combination of the three, or any of the three, she does not have the experience to differentiate between a man who is genuinely masculine, competent and confident in his masculinity, and a guy who is just a dick. They see that they I mean, I was the same way in the reverse. You know, I had any dude who has oh, check that out. I didn't realize that you said that, you little fucking bitch. But now you're back. And anyway, I'll come back to your comment, Armed with Opinions. And it's true. And that's why this whole toxic masculinity thing came about, because girls were going out with guys who were just dicks, and they didn't know any better. And like, oh, this is what guys are like. It's like, no, that's what assholes are like. What are you talking about? So Armed with My Opinion says, I lost respect for him for crying like a baby. That's not manly behavior. You keep that shit to yourself. He needs to spare me the waterworks. Unless someone close to him died, he needs to can it. Sorry if my words seem harsh, but that's my view. No, I appreciate the honesty. But I 1000% disagree with you. Because what did you say? Unless someone close to him dies. Now, I don't know what you consider close, but if you have some type of relationship with somebody who's reached out to you because they heard you speak, and what you are speaking is very genuine. You know, there's a whole thing in the beginning about, you know, I could be a grifter. I could be coming here and trying to see what I can get out of it from you. I guess my Jordan Peterson is not that good. But he was saying that, and he was like, no, I want to be authentic. And so you do that, and somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I'm really having a hard time. Can you help me? Would you consider that close enough? if that person died or no? I want you to keep that question in mind as we continue. Exactly. Good point. Good point.
When masculine. And so they're completely unable to discriminate between narcissistic power and compulsion and confident competence.
Masculine men.
And so because they can't distinguish that and they're afraid, they put all of that in the same category, which is something like the predator category. And
see, again, before we get there, you're almost there. He is an emotional man. And you say he's an emotional man. I get it. I just have seen him cry too many times. Maybe I need to get in touch with my soft side and watch some rom-coms to understand his point of view. You're so far off base there. You're so far off base. He's not crying because it said him. He's crying because there is a generational travesty happening to the men specifically, but the entire youth of the world. If that's not a big deal to you, or if that is analogous to a rom-com to you, then it makes sense to me why you can't understand. But absolutely being able to regulate your emotions and display your emotions when appropriate. I mean, he wasn't bawling. He was moved by the thought of what men like me had to go through as young men. I mean, maybe I'm a bitch. I've cried a lot more times over the same stuff that he's crying about than he has. But I don't have to pretend that I didn't, because I think that everybody's going to think I'm a little bitch because I cried, because I'm not a little bitch. So you could think it, but I don't really care. And it's not even a let's agree to disagree. I think that, that's what a conversation is. We don't you don't have to necessarily just automatically agree with me, and nor me you. You have a valid position to some extent. I just personally disagree with it, but I enjoy the back and forth. I don't want to just agree to disagree. Maybe you can convince me. Maybe he is being a bitch. I haven't seen. I know there's multiple videos of him crying on camera, and maybe he has been too open. And then again, I am also a very emotional person, so maybe I'm biased. But that's why I want to hear from you. So don't think that just because I disagree with you that I don't want to hear what you're saying. I definitely do. I don't always agree. He said, Napoleon and Alexander the Great faced even greater challenges, and I bet you they didn't start bawling. How the fuck would you know that? How the fuck would you know what they did or didn't do? And why would you think that? I guarantee you, all of the shit that they went through, you're goddamn right. There were some nights where they went out and they had to fucking do whatever. They came home and they fell the fuck apart because they were running the world. Like, not like Biden, like actually running the world. I mean, if you have proof that they did, it's silly to me that you would make that statement. I can't see any reasoning behind that. What makes you think they wouldn't have cried about anything? It says, I don't think he's a bitch. I just think he needs to tone it down a notch sometimes. Just my opinion. Fair enough. I mean, like I said, we definitely don't have to have the same opinion, but I was very much endeared and moved myself when I saw the clip. So again, let's pick up.
Completely unable to discriminate between narcissistic power and compulsion and confident competence. And so because they can't distinguish that and they're afraid, they put all of that in the same category, which is something like the predator category. And that's not good for them because, well, as you said, all men aren't predators all the time. And they need to establish a relationship with the man.
Right. We're also in a very strange place where a lot of high-profile women will not say what they think a woman is.
Yeah.
Adult human female, what?
Because they are... Ketanji Brown Jackson, the new member of the Supreme Court, in her nomination hearings was asked a question. This is what she said.
Can I?
So, in the time, I know you guys have seen this clip already. I don't remember who said it, but whoever it was hit the nail on the head. And they were saying that when you ask someone the question, what is a woman? The time that it takes for them to hear the question and say whatever they're going to say that's anything other than adult human female is them being like, okay, I know what a woman is, but I know I can't say that. So what am I supposed to say? Let's watch it happen in real time.
Provide a definition? No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this.
Well, I mean, I know, obviously. Obviously, I was hired because I was a woman. But, I mean, I can't say that. I can't say that.
Context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
I'm not a biologist.
It was a riveting moment because you're going to be on the Supreme Court of the United States of America. You're a woman. You're the first black woman on the court. And that in itself, I know you've raised eyebrows about why did Joe Biden go out there and say we need to have a black woman? Why not just say we want the best person available? And
yeah, so Armed with Opinions is, my opinions said, aren't they labeling some feminists evil Nazis nowadays just because they think men shouldn't compete in women's sports and stuff like that? Yes, those are called TERFs in the liberal lexicon. The trans exclusionary radical feminist. So if you determine that you're a feminist, but like sex is a thing, that makes you a radical, a trans exclusive, yeah. Yep, exactly. So why didn't you ask if you already knew? You know what the fuck is going on.
then if she's the best person, get her on the court, which I completely agree with. But for her not to be able to commit to explaining what she thinks a woman is. And then I had a moment on this show where Macy Gray, the singer, did stick her neck out. And she said this.
I will say this, and everybody's going to hate me, but as a woman, just because you go change your parts doesn't make you a woman.
Hey, let's
You
go.
feel that?
I know that for a fact. Like if you
I hate that she said I feel that. Oh. She said, I feel that I know for him. I feel that I know that. Do you know it or do you feel like you know it?
want me to call you a her, I will, because that's what you want. But that doesn't make you a woman just because I call you a her and just because you got a surgery.
With chilling predictability, Macy Gray
Oh,
stuck to her
no. Tell me she didn't walk that back. I think I heard about this. Oh, I think she walked it back.
guns for a couple of days, and then the onslaught was so
Macy.
overwhelming against her, she had to.
What did you have to lose, Macy Gray? Nobody over the age of 25 knows who the fuck you are. Nobody who gave you shit for saying that cares about your music. They care about the political shit. Most of the people who would listen to your music probably like you less now. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying.
Go on national television in America.
Where's the lie? When she walked it back.
Issue a groveling apology for everyone that she'd hurt with this statement of what many would think is just a statement of biological fact. How have we got to this place where women are terrified of saying what a woman is, and women who do say what they think it is, i.e. there are clear biological distinctions between a man and a woman, they get destroyed?
Well, we've accepted this preposterous hypothesis that your identity is only subjectively defined. And as I've tried to point
I don't think that's the issue. I think your identity should be subjectively defined. Just not by solely your gender. Just not by your gender. Or rather not by your, not by your gender, but not anything to do with your sex. It should be who you are as a person. Back in my day, the trans, the edge case, the edgy, those were the goth kids. That's it. The kids who would wear the fucking, what's the little dog from Invader Zim, They'd have that as their backpack, all black, black Jenko jeans, red hair, cufflinks all the way up their wrist, same Slipknot sweatshirt every day. That was their identity. And I'm thinking of somebody in particular who is now, who is my age, who now has a teenage daughter who is still like that. And good for her. That's her identity. But for most people, it was just a phase. That doesn't mean that for me, being in the hardcore scene, being straight edge, being a Christian, that doesn't mean those things weren't part of my identity. But so what? Why does anybody else need to know or care what that is? Why do I need to be concerned that everybody else agrees that my identity is in fact my identity if I determine it's my identity? I think it should be subjective. If you're a guy and you want to call yourself a girl, go for it. Just don't expect me to play part in your delusion. Just don't get mad when I use words that already exist. That's it. You can call yourself a floorbo if you want. But just don't ask me to do it.
Find out on some of my lectures, the only people who think their identity is subjectively defined are 2-year-olds. And I mean that technically, because 2-year-olds are egocentric, which means they can't.
I just came across a TikTok playlist of actually a bunch of videos that I had seen in college, videos from the late 80s that were psychological, like social experiments, and very interesting. And hell no, I'm not straight edge. Cheers. If well, toast is from little. No, yeah, I mean, I was until senior year in high school. So most of high school, like May of high school, my senior year in high school. So most of high school, I didn't do anything. I mean, I was having sex from age 15, but straight edge is promiscuous sex. I was with a longtime girlfriend, so I was really straight edge. And then I smoked weed, and then I started drinking, and then I became a drug addict. So, I don't know who Ray Capo is, but bring it. All right, let's back this up a sec.
Technically.
Oh, I was talking about so he's talking about 2-year-olds, and so there's this thing called object permanence. And it's basically the notion that, it's why peekaboo is fun for little kids, because object permanence is the notion that just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So the reason peekaboo is fun for kids is because when you do that, they literally think that you disappear. And you're like, oh my God, where the hell did you come from? That was awesome. That's why peekaboo works, because of object permanence. And so, doing different things. And then there was another one about categorization. It's like one of these is not like the other. So they give 4 flashcards. And it would be, the one I remember was like apple, ice cream, banana, wagon. And it was like a 4 or 5-year-old. And they were like, can you tell me which one of these is different? I'm like, well, they're all different. This is an apple. This is a banana. And they couldn't, even upon asking, okay, what do you do with an apple? You eat it. What do you do with a banana? You eat it. What do you do with ice cream? You eat it. What do you do with a wagon? You play with it. And so one of those is not different? Yeah, they're all different. This is very, very interesting how minds develop. And especially, not to go down a rabbit hole here, but when you understand that process and how ongoing it really is, then the notion of a baby being something different from the moment they are out of the womb versus in the womb is, again, I'm not going to go down that whole thing. But I do debates. The last one I did was with Anirudh Garg of The Dialectic, who thought that an advertisement for adults getting plastic surgery was worse than giving hormones, gender hormones to children. So that one's still up. But yeah, I love debating. I love debating. I feel like I'm better in that environment than the reaction environment, but it's hard to get people to come on and talk about stuff. So if you know somebody who's willing to debate any of these things, send them my way. All right. So talking about, hey, we got Mackenzie here. What's going on? Says Jackson was being asked this question as a gotcha political stunt. It was smart to not give the sleazy Republican who asked it anything to twist and run with. What are you? Who's Jackson? What are we talking about? I'm with you. What? I mean, I'm glad you're here, Mackenzie, but I have no idea what you're talking about. You might be in the wrong stream. We're talking about Jordan Peterson and Piers Morgan.
Because 2-year-olds
be nice
are egocentric, which means they can't bring their identity in alignment with a social norm, which also means that 2-year-olds can't play with other children. They can play beside them, but they can't play with them. That doesn't happen until you're 3. What happens when you're 3, if you're reasonably well socialized or start to move towards that, is that you learn how to negotiate a social identity. And then identity becomes, obviously it has some roots in your subjectivity and in your biology for that matter, but a sophisticated identity is not only socially negotiated, as the constructivists know perfectly well, but it's got a dynamism about it because it has to be constantly renegotiated. Like, as we're having a conversation here, to some degree, we're renegotiating our mutual identities because we learn something from each other, so we transform.
That's a very important point. Knowing where this conversation goes, I want you to keep that in mind. Let's hear it again. What did he say?
Negotiating our mutual identity.
We're renegotiating our mutual identities
because we learn something from each other.
So we learn something from each other. We're renegotiating our identities because we're learning from each other. So I want you to pay, when we get to the crying part, I want you to think about that constant relearning that Peterson is talking about right now. I'm going to leave it there. She didn't see the other one.
We transform. We're also trying to figure out to some degree who each of us is in this situation. And then we're also trying to learn, can we play together towards some productive end? And you might ask,
can you come over and play?
Well, what do you mean play? And say, well,
I didn't know he was going to do that. It sounded weird. That used to be such a common word and phrase. Like, can you play? Can Johnny play? Hi, Mrs. Johnny. Can Johnny play? Do you want to play? You want to play after school? And then you get to a certain point, and playing is a very different thing.
We're going to have an interesting conversation.
Let's take another break. I want to come back and talk to you about
the
royal family in this country and the huge
I think we got one more topic.
Moment in history we've just had. We'll talk to Jordan Peterson after the break again.
Oh, me and armed with opinions, we dumb. So what did you say then? Let's go back. So Jackson was being asked this question as a gotcha political stunt. It was smart not to give the sleazy Republican who asked it anything to twist and run with. I mean, how is it? I don't disagree that it was a political stunt in the sense that the woman who asked it knew that it would be a thing. How is that sleazy? I'll give you a comparison that seems like, based on what you're saying, you may or may not see it as the same way. When DeSantis sent 50, not 500, not 50,000, 50 people to the richest neighborhood in the world, was that sleazy? Was that a political stunt? Was that a gotcha? Maybe. But did it show more about the liberal mindset and the liberal narrative, the liberal agenda, all of that bullshit than anything else? Was that the takeaway? I think the takeaway from Ketanji Brown Jackson is not that Republican politicians are sleazy. Imagine that. Of course they are. But it's sad when you are able to ask that question and have the answer being something that you can twist and run with. That is the issue. I bet you if she asked, what is a judge? She would have known that. I bet you she asked, what is a table? She'd know that. These are equally difficult questions. And the fact that as at the highest court in the world, you just have no idea? Where are we? So Miguel said there is nothing in an honest answer to twist and run with. Political stunt, yes. 100% agree with you, Miguel. 100% agree. Liltos, I think, is talking to Mackenzie. He said, did you fall from the sky? Because I don't know what that means, so I'm not going to say it out loud, but Mackenzie, you got a suitor. I think she's married. Am I wrong? I think you're married, right? But hey, shoot your shot, homie. All right, so Armed with Opinion says DeSantis' political stunt is sleazy. Okay. Because he's just virtue signaling. Oh, he's virtue signaling. So the people who are saying, we will take anybody, everybody is welcome here, this is a sanctuary city, we should have open borders and everybody can come here. And then when people come here, they get kicked out. They're not the ones who are virtue signaling. It's the people who literally can't take don't have the resources to cover the amount of people that are coming over the border. Let me continue. DeSantis' political stunt is sleazy because he's just virtue signaling and not actually trying to solve the problem. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. It's nice of him to expose hypocrisy. I think that is in the way of solving the problem, is exposing the problem. It's nice of him to expose hypocrisy, but he's not doing much aside from TV stunts. That's my view. Most Republicans love mass immigration. What? No, they don't. That's just wrong. Oh, the politicians, not the voters. That's facts. Okay. I don't know about that. Maybe you may be right. I genuinely don't know about the politicians. But so yeah, the virtue signaling is saying, I will do this grand thing. I'm gonna hey, we should let everybody come here. And then we're like, wait, no, we can't do that. Like, there's actual, like, not because we're mean, like, there's real reasons. There's shit, like, we got to have order to this. We need to make sure that people coming in are, good people. They're not trafficking. All this stuff needs to be done. And we don't have the resources for that. But you're telling everybody that Republicans don't want that because we're mean. So as you point out, it's nice of him to expose the hypocrisy. In the sentence right before that, you say, not actually trying to solve the problem. Explain to me how you solve a problem that is not identified. Because in the minds, especially of northern and coastal elites, immigration is not a problem. There is no problem to be solved. Just let it. That is the position of very many liberals, both voters and politicians. So if that is what they think, and that is what they want, then I agree. It was a political move. Of course it was. But the hypocrisy that you acknowledge was the takeaway. That's my opinion. Sure. Arm's opinion says, I wasn't born yesterday. I'm not impressed by publicity stunts. Until I see an actual plan to halt both illegal and legal immigration, I'll stick to my view. Fair enough. That is absolutely fair. But how do you expect to see an actual plan to halt both illegal and legal immigration if half of the country has no intention on doing that? The point is, you have to identify the problem, here being the hypocrisy that you admitted was a problem. That's the first step. So logically, you are incorrect. Miguel says they wanted Jackson to say what a woman is, to throw her under the bus with the lunatics that think chopping off your junk makes you a chick. Yeah, It doesn't. Sorry. I mean, like Peterson said in the beginning, I could use your pronouns, but I don't think that would help you in the long run. And it won't. Woo! All right, final stretch.
Welcome back for my final part with Dr. Jordan Peterson. The royal family and the death of this great queen and the extraordinary outpouring.
I'm going to do this as a poll because I'm very interested. I hear you. I'm interested how many of you are, how many of you care about the royal family? Come on. Do you care about the royal family? Question mark. Because grammar matters. All right.
Of love and respect, not just here, but around the world, actually. Biggest event of its kind I think I've ever seen. What did you make of it? What do you think of
what did you
a
make
monarchy
of it?
in the modern age? Is it survivable?
Well, I thought that what happened was extremely interesting psychologically because Queen Elizabeth stood for or embodied a whole set of...
Real quick, does anybody know, do they have last names? Like, I know it's Queen Elizabeth, so nobody uses last name, but like, do they have surnames?
Virtues, which is the right way of thinking about it, that aren't in the least bit fashionable, but in fact, they're the inverse of fashionable in some sense, but are desperately needed. And so you might say humility, dutifulness, careful emotional self-regulation, discretion, the antithesis of narcissism.
Whoa. So, all right. Republicans have been paying lip service to these issues for decades now. And yet magically, it's just gotten worse. Magically? Or because Biden said, hey, come to the border. We have to be honest about this stuff. It's not magic. It's not that hard to put together that and I am not a fan of Trump by any means. But when Trump says, don't come to the border, you're not going to get in, then people are like, oh, okay, maybe we shouldn't take this treacherous journey. When Biden's like, oh, no, yeah, come on in, man. Do you think that helps the problem or makes it worse? Yeah, magically it's just gotten worse. So something clearly isn't working. I agree with you. Owning the libs is fun, but I'm not seeing any results because you're missing the point. The point is not to own the libs. That is just a benefit. The liberal idea of immigration is simply incorrect. Thank you, buddy. It's simply we cannot handle the level of immigration that we are experiencing. That is undeniable by any metric on any, in any context. There are too many fucking people here. My parents are immigrants. They came here legally. But I just seen this. Oh my God. But the fact is, it's not about owning the libs. It's the fact that immigration is really a problem. We actually are trying to help a problem. While everybody's, it's not a problem. We're a sanctuary city. Why are you being so mean? They're just looking for a better life. Okay, then you take them. Oh. You mean you can't? Have you seen the Obama's house? It's off season, baby. They ain't there. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Obama's house. Let's just take a little look-see and see how many immigrants do you think could fit here? This is a little bit better one. Oh no, this one's better. Look at that. Why did I do that? Open image, a new tab. How many people do you think can fit in this house right here? This is one house. Then let me ask you, how similar do you think this neighborhood is to El Paso, Texas? Would you say there's more space in Texas or less space in Texas? Would you say there's better resources in Texas or worse resources in Texas? So when it comes to virtue signaling, the people who literally are dealing with the border crossing, dealing with the individuals who are coming into this country, whether they are good people or not, and there are definitely both, whether they are good people or not, the people who are actually dealing with it have a better idea than people who live in places like this. I don't know about you, but if I went through a treacherous journey to get to this country and somebody put me in there, I mean, fuck, take me out of here right now. Let me live there. Miguel says, USA invites illegal children right into our schools, gives mom DHS benefits, and lets dad work all our construction jobs for cash. They need to make it difficult to operate once here as an illegal, says Miguel. I don't necessarily. It's not necessarily. I think I agree with you. It's not necessarily about making it more difficult. I think that if I understand what you're saying, you're saying that if it were more difficult to operate here as an illegal, then that would incentivize people to come here legally. If that's what you're saying, I 100% agree. Armors My Opinion says, this problem precedes Biden, does it not? Of course it does. It was getting worse before him, before Trump, before Obama. Yeah, exactly. Because more people come here, and they get here, and they stay here, and they make money, and so more people are like, hey, it's working for them, let's go. We see increases every year, as well as declining white demographic. No offense to the non-whites, but the country, oh, Jesus. Come on, man. I did not expect this to go this way. So, but the country should probably remain, as Armed with Opinion says, majority white. Don't even get me started on Reagan giving amnesty to refugees or G.W. Bush's immigration policies. So yeah, just saying. I am not disagreeing with you that the government in general has been bad with immigration. I definitely agree with you on that. I am still just making the point that it is worse now than it was, and that the people who are virtue signaling in the DeSantis Martha's Vineyard situation simply were not Republicans, DeSantis. It was the people who were signaling their virtue that they would take in immigrants and then didn't take in immigrants. That's literally the definition of virtue signaling. Do me a favor, Miguel. Walk outside without opening any doors or windows. Okay. I assume you mean legal and illegal. Why stop both? Because there's too many illegal people coming in, and they're ruining it for the legal immigrants. There's too many people here, full stop. There are too many people here, full stop. If people weren't coming in illegally at such high rates, then of course we would want to continue immigration. That's a part of our American identity, the whole melting pot thing. It's not about xenophobia or some bullshit. It's literally the fact that if I have one fucking bottle of water, it is simply not going to let 8 of us survive for more than however long. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not about identitarianism. This is the problem with left-wing thinking. Everything is about, these people versus that people. It's not about that. Maybe you guys think about color and creed. All. It's not about that. That is the whole point of sending them to Martha's Vineyard. That's the entire point. Oh, I didn't know you were green carded, unless you're talking shit. What stats? What stat did I give? I don't think I gave any stats at all. I mean, run it back and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that I made any statistical anything. I said there's too many people here. That's not a statistic. That's an opinion. All right. I mean, you fucking better. You fucking better, motherfucker. Gail said, wall won't work because once here, the kids go right into school. Mom gets DH. Yeah, once they're here. Like I said, try to exit your house without opening any windows or doors. You can do it. But it's a lot harder, isn't it? Is this too? You should have said hardworking and good citizens should be more. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous to say that the people who said, yeah, you can come here, and then they come here, like, no, you can't come here. The other people were virtue signaling. I mean, leftist logic 101. Anyway, let's get back into this.
Sense, but are desperately needed. And so you might say humility, dutifulness.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about the royal family.
Well, I thought that what happened was extremely interesting psychologically because Queen Elizabeth stood for or embodied a whole set of virtues, which is the right way of thinking about it, that aren't in the least bit fashionable, but in fact, they're the inverse of fashionable in some sense, but are desperately needed.
No, I disagree with this take. I think there is a wide middle ground to take before you get to on immigration, before you get to replacement and how many white people there are. Those are, in my opinion, right now, today, those are two very different issues. There's absolutely ways to have people filter into this country without having to worry about your white identity. I think that's a very different thing because white is not a thing. White is a color. If you're talking about Irish people, if you're talking about Italian people, okay, that's different. I mean, don't think that any one of those is an overwhelming majority. I don't know. You guys could fact check me on that. But that's why it's cringe to talk about white replacement because Irish people were not considered white when they got here. Well, you see, if you left out the white person part, you would have had me. But you're a white person, so you don't get a valid lived experience. Okay, I am the colored one, so what I say goes. No, don't. I don't like this. See, this is what we do here. We have fun and we think hard. That is exactly what we want. That is precisely what we want. I want long, thought out comments like this. I want to be challenged because I don't know that I'm right. And I'm very likely wrong on a lot. And so if you guys are willing to challenge me, then we can all be better people. You know? So yeah, they're talking about the royal family. Can anybody Google whether they have surnames? I'm really interested in that.
And so you might say humility, dutifulness, careful emotional self-regulation, discretion, the antithesis of narcissism, all of that, and she managed it.
See, Arms with Opinions is good at trolling. The other day, so real quick, Positile and Arms with Opinions. I labeled this stream under just chatting. If I were to label it under politics, would you still see it? Like, I'm retarded when it comes to Twitch. I have no idea how it works. Or are you only seeing the ones that are in that category, or have you subscribed so it doesn't matter? Because when I go into politics, I just get so many trolls. It's not even, and they're not good. Like, this is funny. But just like coming in and be like, oh, you're that, and people like, can we watch something else? Like, yo, you have the whole internet. What do you mean? Why are you coming to my stream? Go watch what you want to watch. Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate that. Never going back to politics again. Should I? I was told that podcast is dead. Free Ego told me that's where I started because I was doing the I Didn't Read Your Book podcast, and that was a podcast. This isn't really a podcast, but I'll go wherever the eyes are. What's the matter, bro? What's the matter? Yeah, that's what I've been doing. What's the matter, little toes? Don't be sad.
Extraordinarily well for 70 years. And so whenever things go too far in one direction, there's a tremendous unconscious or implicit desire for something that would set it right. And that's what you saw happen. And not only on the personal front, but there's also all the pomp and ceremony, which is also archaic and unfashionable. That was all part of that you Brits managed so spectacularly. That was all. People are just dying for that.
All right, so who's the one person, there's one of you who said you care about the royal family. I'm not trying to pick on you or anything. I'm just curious because I'm American and I don't really give a shit about a lot of shit. What is the appeal? Who is it? Which one of you? Give me a me if you're the person who said they care about the royal family. Or if you didn't vote and you do care about the royal family.
For that beauty.
What I felt was, I felt like the country, before this happened, 2 weeks before it, felt like the whole.
Okay, so for you go, if you could, what's the big deal? I just don't get it.
Country was in a shambolic state, that everything was going wrong in our country, and in a way, the death of the Queen unified us in a way we hadn't been for a long time.
Yeah,
certainly since Brexit. No one was talking about
remember how we thought Rona would do that?
Or social issues.
Did with
They all talking about one thing. I mean, it also reinforced our national identity.
Oh, yeah.
In a way that actually made the world look on with great awe.
It's really sad. It's really sad that the whole Rona thing didn't codify the country like 11/9 did. I mean, if you're too young to have been like aware of what was going on, I was, again, I'm millennial, like people who are 30 years old in that sweet spot. Between, I mean, what two things changed America more than the ubiquity of the internet and social media and September 2001? I think those are the two most, the two biggest events in recent American history, except for, of course, the Rona. And people just didn't care. It tore us apart even further. So where are we? Yeah, so Free Go, still waiting on that. Miguel said, how many liters of children's blood do you think the royals drink per year? I think I heard like 20. Our Independent says, as an American, I have the right to say I don't care about the royal crown. 1776 US. Hell yeah. America. Yeah. Wilto says, well, it takes 1 liter a month to stay in mint condition. Thanks for the info. Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. And then the 08 recession was really the start of the wokeness that turned what could have been codification, is that the word? Into further division. Yep, exactly. Samantha says, you give your opinion, in quotes, I don't know why it's in quotes, it is my opinion, but use example of not being enough water if we all stop immigration. Pretty sure this isn't a thing. Are you saying that immigrants are taking resources from citizens? Yes. Obviously. So if you live here, then whatever you do, and I don't want it to be this way, this is why I'm a libertarian, whatever you do at some level is subsidized by the government. And the government, I don't want to mansplain this to you. I know you know this. That the money that the government uses comes from taxes that you and I pay legally for living in our country. So I mean, yes, there's a finite amount of resources in the universe, much less the world, much less America. I don't think that's a very controversial statement. As people are starving from immigrants coming into the country. That's a stat I would... What? So You're saying that immigrants are taking resources from citizens as people. What is them being starving? Are you under the impression that there's no starving people in America? And again, if you want to take care of these people, you could. But how many immigrants do you have in your house, Mackenzie? That's exactly what I was saying. That the wokeness killed Occupy and then continued, and I think is the main reason that we didn't have any of that codifying during the Rona regime. That's what I'm saying. That's literally exactly what's happening. Resources are finite. I swear to you, I'm trying not to be. You're asking me a question. Do I think people who are here are using resources that are, yeah, you know what I meant. You brought in an illegal immigrant, or you are somebody in your family is an immigrant. That's not the same thing. Come on, don't be pedantic. Well, I mean, so Frigo, Mackenzie is just saying that she thinks that DeSantis was the one virtue signaling with the whole Martha's Vineyard thing, and she's claiming that there. I mean, are you saying there's infinite resources? Because it's only either resources are finite or they're infinite. I swear I'm not trying to be condescending. Maybe I'm the stupid one. Maybe I don't get what you're saying. And this is, I mean, you know what I meant. Okay, but that's your husband. How many that you don't love and have children with? That's not the same thing. And you know that's not the same thing. Who's being condescending and pedantic now? Come on. Oh Jesus. No, I know you didn't say shit about Ron DeSantis, but you said you actually pretty sure you did. I'm pretty sure you said it was a no. Did I bring it up? I mean, fair. You know, I again, Mackenzie, resources are finite. They can only go to one person. If you get this, if you have this, I can't have this. It is one thing. I don't understand how that's not an answer to your question. If you can ask it a different way. But that, like, I don't get what you're asking. Like, yes, if there's only one thing, and there's more than one person, and one person gets it, then one is taking it from the other. Now, I was agreeing with somebody who said we need to slow legal and illegal immigration at this point. Tax dollars! Tax dollars! Tax dollars. I mean, maybe you're rich and you have the money to just dole out to millions and millions and millions of people. If you do, that's great. But please, I don't have those resources. I cannot do that. I think New Jersey is number 2 in the highest state taxes. I'm looking to get out, but it costs money. And nope, no cash apps. So, I mean, good for him, but there's all, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. I pay my taxes to get back you pay into taxes, not for no reason, but to take out from what you're spending. So if he's paying taxes, that's better than not paying taxes. But if he's not being accounted for as an illegal immigrant, and it sounds like if he's your husband, then he's not illegal and not what we're talking about. He probably does pay more than I do. I don't understand how that's relevant. I don't understand how you're just getting mad now. Like, what we're talking about the fact that resources are finite. That is it. Again, it has nothing. I'm a brown dude. Both of my parents are immigrants. You can't try to spin this to be, oh, evil white racist. No, I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. Resources are finite. Frigo says, also, we need to have a much higher birth rate from our citizenry as opposed to taking in 1 million or 2. You mean, every year. Exactly. We have millions of inner city poor that need work. Why are illegals at all our construction sites? The country has gone nuts. You gotta put on a show, girl. Come on. You gotta put on a show.
About the procession, our military, our royal family, the country. It made people feel good.
I still haven't got an answer on why anybody gives a shit about the royal family.
About Britain again.
Yeah.
And therefore made British people feel good about themselves again.
Yeah, well, you guys have lots to feel good about. And that's not the standard mantra of the modern world. You know, this is an unbelievably admirable country for all its flaws. And so
what do you find admirable about us?
English common law, the tradition of free speech, sardonic and self-effacing humor that's so much a part of the culture. Our
ability to queue for 13 hours
politely
to see a woman lying.
So let's take the time of this. So our tax dollars are either going to Ukraine by the billions, yup, or to benefit non-Americans usually, yup. Our politicians are just corrupt, yup, and spend our money incorrectly, yup. Which is exactly why I don't want any reason for our taxes to go higher, because it's not like it's a 1-for-1. It's not like capitalism where you actually are paying for what you get. You just give the government money, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Actually, we need a little more. No, we need a little more. We need a little more. I don't want that. I cannot handle that. As you are correct, your husband probably makes a lot more money than I do. Again, I say there's no cash apps. I do this for free and pay a lot of money in equipment and subscription services to bring this to you. So yeah, that's not that surprising that somebody makes more money than me. How does that change the notion that resources are either finite or infinite? Armed with Opinions goes on to say, I'd like to imagine a world where you pay taxes and you see your life and your neighbor's life get easier. Unfortunately, it's not like that right now. Exactly. If we lived in that world, then maybe we would have the resources to deal with what we're talking about. But because the government just literally started World War III, we don't. I wish we could too. I wish life could be rainbows and sunshine all the time. Do we need to go back to the Rocky clip? Where's the Rocky clip? I would love that. But that's not how the world works.
Entitled and moaning about.
The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I see that as extremely relevant to the conversation that we just had about that. Pazdal says, Miguel, most of U.S. citizens don't want to take hard and difficult working jobs like constructions. Immigrants take those jobs because they are willing to work anywhere as long as they're getting paid in dollars, and they don't mind getting paid less. That's why companies hire them in those kinds of jobs. I personally don't have a problem with that. I personally don't have a problem with that. I am a libertarian, and I don't think you should be here. But if you're here, and you decide, hey, I want to do this thing. And somebody decides, hey, I need somebody to do my thing. And somebody says, well, you got to pay me a minimum wage. And this guy's like, I'll do it for $3 an hour. I'm completely fine with, the person who's going to be paid less. And again, I think that is a separate issue from immigration itself. I think they're connected, of course, but they're different issues. Frigo says, think taxes would work better if the ones required to opt in are businesses. That way, people could use their income to purchase the products of the businesses and keep the money within your community. Money flowing out of areas is why formerly prosperous areas like Detroit fucking died. Well, I mean, I think that might be a little bit simplistic. I mean, they built an entire Detroit was built on being the GM city. So like once GM was globalized or moved, or I don't even really know the exact history. But that was a huge a huge reason why Detroit is the way it is. Kenzie says if legal immigration were cut, the economy would lose 1.5 trillion over the next 75 years. Did not know that. Okay. So as to how much money would we gain by? So you take that stat. How much money would we gain if we stopped illegal immigration? Because if it's more than $1.5 trillion, then we don't really have an argument. I don't. I'm not trying to tell you that. I mean, it's a conversation. I'm getting a little heated and putting on a show. You know, but you said that I was being condescending, and I'm genuinely trying to have a conversation with you. So I mean, you know, take that for what you owe. Frigo says 1.5 is literally like 2 spending bills in the past year. That's what I was thinking. You don't gain, you lose if we stop illegal immigration, or if we stop legal immigration. I have no idea. I'm just going by what Mackenzie says. I do not know either way. I mean, I don't think you need to be a time traveler. I think economics is at least straightforward enough to be able to tell if we would lose or gain money. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. All right, let's try and find where the hell we were.
One of them's more liberal than I.
Definitely not there.
We've defined our 2-year-old. We're also trying to learn, can we play together towards virtues, which is the right way of thinking about it, that aren't in the least bit fashionable, but in fact, they're the inverse of fashionable in some sense, but are desperately needed. And so you might say humility, dutifulness, careful emotional self-regulation, discretion, the antithesis of narcissism, all of that. And she managed it extraordinarily well for 70 years. And so whenever things go too far in one direction, there's a tremendous unconscious or implicit desire for something that would set it right. And that's what you saw happen. And
that's why the pendulum swings back and forth. That's how in 2008, the Democrats were all about F Big Pharma and the banks. And now they're all like, yay, Big Pharma, take your jab, get your booster.
Not only on the personal front, but there's also all the pomp and ceremony, which is also archaic and unfashionable. That was all part of that you Brits managed so spectacularly. That was all.
What do you mean, you Brits?
People are just dying for that beauty.
What I felt was, I felt like the country before this.
Real quick, does anybody know is Canada part of the British Empire still? It feels like a really stupid question, but I really don't know. So, I mean, somebody help me out.
This happened 2 weeks before it. It felt like the whole country was in a shambolic state, that everything was going wrong.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about how this did not happen during Rona.
In a way, the death of the Queen unified us in a way we hadn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
Certainly since Brexit. No one was talking about hot button political issues or social issues. They're all talking about one thing.
Oh, we're all gonna make it in the building. Welcome to the live party. So glad you are here. No, but yes, what was the question that we were? Oh, was it the? Oh, I don't know what you're referring to. But glad you're here, buddy. Glad you are here. Frigo said, Canada is basically a British territory. They still bend the knee to them, but are technically separate. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And we're all gonna make it. They're just talking about the death of the Queen right now.
I mean, it also reinforced our national identity.
Oh, yeah.
In a way that
Major
actually
way.
made the world look on with great awe about the procession, our military, our royal family.
Hold on. This again, maybe I'm the dumb one. That's always a possibility, but that doesn't make sense. It says, Postal says, think about it. A lot of companies who hire immigrants who get paid less than minimum wage will have to hire normal U.S. citizens that would have to get paid above minimum wage. I don't know. What do you mean? Why do they have to hire normal U.S. citizens if they already have illegal immigrants as employees? Yeah, I need the answer to that question. Because if that were the case, if there is some reason that if you have illegal immigrants working for you, that you do have to hire normal U.S. I mean, I don't know why you need the word normal. You could just say U.S. citizens, but that if you have illegal immigrants, that you would have to also hire U.S. citizens, and that would, that doesn't make sense. First of all, then why would anybody hire illegal immigrants? Every restaurant I've ever worked in, the entire kitchen is legal immigrants. Why would they do that if they had if that wasn't saving them money? We're all gonna make it. Says we got to bring 2K more folks up in here, my guy. I'm gonna see what I can do. See, that's what I'm talking about. We're all gonna make it is being the notification. Thank you so much, brother. I really do appreciate that. Or brother, sister, whatever you are, all are welcome here. So Mackenzie said, no, my dad has a background in economics. So does Anirudh, for the record. Immigrations would severely hurt our economy. I don't know what that sentence means. Can't write a full thesis here, but these anti-immigration arguments are not accurate. Well, maybe you can come up on the panel and talk about it. And that's I don't think I don't think anybody was saying in general we can't have immigrants. I think we're, at least myself, I'm just talking about the rate of people coming into this country, period. It has nothing to do with whether they are illegal, whether they are legal, what country they are from. Like, it's just the number of people versus the amount of resources. That's my position. I may be wrong about that, but you don't seem to be addressing that. So if I'm wrong, you're not doing a good job of telling me where I'm wrong. Just saying that it's not accurate is just saying things. And maybe I'm just saying things, but I mean, I'm giving you the reasoning. I could be wrong, but I'm giving you the reasoning. So if I'm wrong, and this is the case, then show me where I'm wrong. And again, you say you can't write a full thesis. I'll send you the link personally. Miguel says open borders inviting the third world just to come over. I mean, you know, yeah, obviously. And Little Toes is with you, Mackenzie. All right, getting back to the royal family.
The country, it made people feel good about Britain again.
Yeah.
And therefore made British people feel good about themselves again.
Yeah, well, you guys have lots to feel good about. And
I'm so mad that there's nobody else is going to be able to see this. This is definitely going to get claimed and blocked. And I feel like a gangster for turning 30 minutes of content into 2.5 hours. And I don't know, just got to pat myself on the back. So this is one of those no replay gang. I know Sky News is going to claim this and block it.
that's not the standard mantra of the modern world. You know, this is an unbelievably admirable country for all its flaws. And so
what do you find admirable about us?
English common law.
What did he say? What do you find what about us?
What do you find admirable about us?
Admirable?
English common law. The tradition of free speech. Sardonic and self-effacing humor. That's
what the fuck does sardonic mean? I've definitely heard that word before, but I have no clue what it means. Sardonic. Oh, can this? This is gonna read the thing. That's not even gonna do the thing. Okay, great. Grimly mocking or cynical. Okay. Oh, okay. Like British humor. Got it. Okay. He's talking about the tradition of free speech and sardonic, or making fun of yourself, and self-effacing humor. Well, why did you have to say both? That's redundant. Making me feel like a moron.
So much a part of the culture.
Our ability to queue for 13 hours to
politely
see a woman lying in state who's not even a member of our family.
Guys, can we get 2 more likes, please? Just 2. Just 2 likes. I know some of you haven't hit it yet. Just please.
Right. Well, and to do
resilience,
well, and to do that peacefully, and to do that in the spirit of mutual goodwill, and come to a place like London. It's unbelievably ethnically diverse, and yet it functions extraordinarily well. And
what are your best traits, and what are the worst traits of Dr. Jordan Peterson?
Well, I think that
question.
It's been difficult for me to optimally regulate my irritation at times over the last few years. And I'm trying to get that right, to figure out what the right, because a lot of things that have happened have outraged me. And then I'm not exactly sure what emotional tone to take as a consequence of that outrage. And that's a very complicated thing to figure out. And that's been exacerbated, that problem, by the fact that my family and I have been the targets of very conniving and attacks.
So normally I would, if he had said everything up to, well, my family's been attacked, I would have been like, oh, no. But, his family really has been attacked, and they've gotten shit that's like legit. But the depth of that answer really shows somebody who has thought about this before. He's thought about what do I need to change? What do I need to make better? If you can't answer the question, I don't remember exactly how he phrased it. What do you need to make better or whatever? If you can't answer that question with some amount of confidence and substance right off the top of your head, then you need to sit down and think about it. That should be right at the front of your brain.
And underground attacks, and that isn't stopping. I mean,
another time when your wife was fighting a deadly cancer.
Yeah, and my daughter was sick, and so was I. So yeah. So it's very difficult to regulate your temper properly under those circumstances, let's say. And so I don't imagine.
Where have you most improved yourself, do you think, as you got older?
Interrupted again?
I get better and better at listening, and I'm better and better at finding my way forward with the words that I choose. And it's just a continual, in some sense, incremental expansion. I probably got better too at seeking out corrective information. So, for example, I got banned from Twitter recently for making a statement that I don't regret, by the way.
Y'all saw the tweet, right? If you don't know the tweet, let me know. Posital says, I'm with Mackenzie too, but I do understand the cities located at the frontier do experience more crime rates as a result of immigration. How is that with Mackenzie? I think that was the point that I was making. So again, I'm not saying I've got it all. Maybe again, I might be confused, and it sounds like you definitely do. If you have a background in economics and you have if your husband is an immigrant, then you probably know a lot more about this than I do. But I don't know. You still have not explained the difference. If resources are finite, then how are they not zero sum? That's the question. If we have unlimited resources, then there's no problem with people flooding into the country, whether legally or illegally. But since that's not the case, we have to regulate. That's the legal immigration. But because when we take a step back and the number of people flooding into the country is too high, whether it's legal or illegal becomes irrelevant because of the finite nature of resources. So I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't get it. And like, feel free to correct me. You guys know that I'm not gonna, like, if you tell me, if you put it, I'm like, oh, okay, I was wrong. I'm happy to do that. I have no ego in this. But you got to do it.
But I had a friend of mine, 2 friends of mine, grill me, and I put that on YouTube. It's called Mean Tweets. It was an hour and a half, I said. And both of them are very, very smart people. One of them's more liberal than I am, I would say, but a very good advocate for that liberal.
Was I not just talking on the last stream about how all the time I'll be watching my fall asleep show, right? And then the next night I'll go to try to get where I was, because obviously I fell asleep and I played after. And then I go and I'll pick a random spot, which seems about right. That just happened. I went back to watch the Rocky thing, and I wanted to come back, and I came back to literally the exact point that we'd stopped off on. But I was like, oh, we haven't heard this yet, so we must be too far. And I went back. I was just listening to 5 minutes of content for no reason. Sorry, guys.
I said, well, let's hash this out. There's some things I've said that have made people angry, and you think I made them unnecessarily angry, and that I was unnecessarily harsh in my tone.
Did they change your mind?
They changed my approach, because one of the things I decided was that I would try to be equally judicious in my words, but that I would use a calmer and more measured tone. And
I definitely need to work on that. But again, that's it's being able to see that flaw in yourself and correct it is something so few people do. And the fact that No Freedom's boy, aka Jordan Peterson, is able to reflect on himself that way is such a positive sign. So absolutely not No Freedoms. I am not talking about him badly in any way. And welcome, brother. Glad to see ya. Glad to see ya. I'm sure you saw the clip of him crying. We were watching the whole damn thing. Positel says, yeah, I'm not saying immigration is not a problem. It is a problem. But it's bad if we eliminate immigration. I agree with you to slow it down. Okay. So if you agree with the notion that, again, we're just talking about the number of people flooding into the country, right? We are already slowing that down with the immigration process. The problem is that people are not going through that process and are just coming here. So again, it comes back to the resources. Even if somebody is trying to go through the line and do it the way my parents did it, if the country doesn't have the resources for more people because too many illegal immigrants came in, then yes, absolutely, it makes sense that regardless of how you are coming in, we just don't have enough stuff. Unless we can send them to Martha's Vineyard, but apparently they don't have the resources either. So what are we talking about? The resources are not necessarily not there. They're just not for them. They're for the people in Martha's Vineyard. They're for the people in Cape Cod. They're for the people in the Hamptons. They're not for immigrants. And again, I'm not trying to be condescending. You know this is how the country works. So why I don't understand where the argument that this isn't the case is coming from. And I would love to understand better. So Peterson's learned to be calmer and use a more measured tone. And I don't
mean use instrumentally. I mean that I would attempt to make the effort to take as much unnecessary emotion out of the statement as possible. And so I started to do that in some of my more recent videos. I mean, I tried to do that before. And I think part of the reason that my interview with Kathy Newman went well was because I kept...
So what you're saying is...
my head. Yeah. And I didn't get irritated. I had a...
So what you're saying is you did well in that because she's a woman. If you haven't seen the Kathy Newman interview, that's pretty much exactly what it was like. Me playing Kathy Newman.
Yeah, I mean, she's a good friend of mine, and I watched it with great interest because I felt like you were slightly on parallel lines. Mm-hmm. And that maybe she would do that interview differently if she had her time again.
I bet you she would.
That's highly possible.
Yeah.
So yes, I changed my approach quite dramatically. And what happened was that I read a Telegraph article I recently published about Deloitte, and it was a very cutting article. And I was really worried about publishing it because I think it was the most cutting article I've ever written. And I read it on YouTube very, very calmly and carefully. And what happened was the response was much more positive and much less negative. So there was no downside to it. So people didn't say, some people said, I think that I like your tone when you were more aggressive, especially on issues like this.
I said,
but
shit, me
by and large,
too.
it worked even better because I could be careful in what I was discriminating. And then to ally that with calmness actually made it more potent rather than less. And so that was very interesting. And and I mean, we had a very serious discussion about this, my friends and I. I had a lot of people with me in Miami when this was happening across the political spectrum.
Come on, guys. Nobody's going to like the video.
We had a very healthy debate for a couple of hours about whether or not I had gone beyond some reasonable limit in the way I was conducting myself, say, on YouTube and Twitter. And some people were very strongly advocating for more of what I was doing and even harsher. And others were saying, well, you're alienating people that you could otherwise communicate with unnecessarily.
That's exactly what my mom said to me about the name of this channel.
Thing about the listening, like one of my sons, two of my sons have come today because they just wanted to listen to this. Very unusual. One of them's not even been to the studio before. So he just said to me, I said, give me some advice. You love Jordan Peterson. What's the advice for the interview? He said, just listen more than you normally do. So I've tried hard.
Notice how I've said, he keeps interrupting him. So I wonder what a normal Piers Morgan interview is like.
To ask a question and let you answer.
Right.
And so I'm work in progress. And I've been interviewing people for 35 years. But I do think the listening, as I've got older, I felt the same thing.
It's a real skill, man.
Listening is a powerful tool, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I love when Peterson uses the word man. He uses it like a stoner guy uses the word dude. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah, man, that's a very difficult thing, man. I mean, okay, but no, that's not how it works. Yay or nay? I don't think I do some good impressions. I don't think Peterson's one of them. I think sometimes when he's like wound up, he's very calm here. So when he gets like wound up, I feel like I could do it, but I need to hear it and then like imitate it.
Well, there is nothing that people like more and need more than to be listened to. And that's part of why the left clamors all the time. It says, look, there's all these people who aren't being listened to. It's like, there are a lot of people who aren't being listened to. They're absolutely right. There's no doubt about that. And I've dealt with people who were extraordinarily marginalized, so to speak, in my clinical practice. And some of those people, to straighten out their minds, they need like 10,000 hours of listening. Because no one, I mean this literally, I've had people in my clinical practice, no one ever listened to them their whole life.
Yeah.
And so when they start talking, they're all over the place, they're disorganized, they're hyper emotional.
Having met me now for an hour, what would your initial clinical diagnosis be?
Well, you're probably optimally disagreeable for your profession, because you can listen, but you're also not a pushover. And that's a very fine line, right?
I said, shit, me too.
Because if you're too
$5 in CashApp, if anybody knows where that reference is from.
Assertive or aggressive, then you get domineering. But if you're not enough, then you're a pushover. And this was also the case with Kathy Newman. She's quite disagreeable, and that's a masculine trait, by the way. And it was one of the things
Oh, got him! He said she masculine. No, I was gonna.
She'd gone into it in a way, so how we started the interview. She'd gone into it, I think, with a preconceived idea of what you would be like and sort of stuck to that.
Yeah.
She's actually a very skillful journalist and interviewer.
Is she
And I was surprised the way that interview went when I was watching it. And I think it was because she just had an idea of what she thought you would be.
Well, I think she also.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear what he says about this. Let's all take a deep breath. Kathy Newman, I think she
also had an idea of what the optimal outcome of the interview might be. And I think a lot of the
how'd that go for you, honey?
Journalists who've gone after me in some sense have that. They think there's part of them that thinks I'll be the person that finally exposes him for what he is.
Yeah.
But then they find out that I'm not who they thought that I am, or at least I'm not.
They are who we thought they were. Wait, you mean he's actually the guy that he says he is? Wait a minute. Whoa. We're out here doing this whole production trying to get Jordan Peterson to actually show his true colors, and you're telling me that he's just been honest this whole time? That can't possibly be the case. No way.
Quite as demonic as they thought I might be.
Well, Professor Stephen Hawking, before he died, gave me his last television interview, and he said that the biggest threat to the future of mankind was when artificial intelligence learned to self-design. What do you think the biggest threat to mankind is?
God damn it. Okay, so I want to take a little guess before he said anything, but too late.
Narcissistic compassion.
Woo! That's what he was talking about earlier. Maybe he'll explain it again. He definitely can explain it better than I can. But he was talking about narcissistic compassion and something else. Hopefully he'll explain it again.
Now AIs, it's a threat.
Come on, dude.
If we had our act together ethically.
Narcissistic compassion. I really don't want to go. Okay, we're at 39:35. I really don't want to go back and find what that part was, because he was talking about. He was talking about the differences in like men and women and all that kind of stuff, and he used that phrase. Oh, here we go. 39:35 is where we at.
Right.
Whereas the compassionate types say some
maybe even in prison. That is actually what fascist regimes do to people.
So we've obviously gone back to when he was talking about narcissistic compassion, because I don't remember what it means.
Yeah, but the fascists are more straightforward about it, because they basically come out and say something like, shut up or we'll beat you.
Right.
Whereas the compassionate types, who are narcissistic compassionate types, they come out and say, well, we're really trying to save the world, and we're acting in everyone's best interest, and we think it would be better if you should just, regulate what you say. Necessary emotion out of the angry, and you think I made them unnecessarily angry. I had a friend of mine, two friends of mine, grill me, and I put that on judicious in my words, but that I would use a calmer and more measured tone. And I don't mean use instrumentally. I mean that I would attempt to make the effort to take as much unnecessary emotion in some of my more recent videos as I kept.
Great interview you did for me.
I changed my approach quite dramatically. And what happened was that, and it was a very cutting article, and I was really
sorry, guys.
And what happened was, I changed my approach quite dramatically. And what happened was that I read a Telegraph article I recently published about Deloitte, and it was a very cutting article. And I was really worried about publishing it, because I think it was the most cutting article I've ever written. And I read it on YouTube very, very calmly and carefully. And what happened was the response was much more positive and much less negative. So there was no downside to it. So people didn't say, some people said, I think that I like your tone when you were more aggressive, especially on issues like this. But by and large, it worked even better, because I could be careful in what I was discriminating. And then to ally that with calmness actually made it more potent rather than less.
All right.
And so that was very interesting. And I mean, we had a very serious discussion about this, my friends and I. I had a lot of people with me in Miami when this was happening, across the political spectrum. We had a very healthy debate for a couple of hours about whether or not I had gone beyond some reasonable limit in the way I was conducting myself, say, on YouTube and Twitter. And some people were very strongly advocating for more of what I was doing, even harsher. And others were saying, well, you're alienating people that you could otherwise communicate with unnecessarily.
It's interesting about the listening. Like, one of my sons, two of my sons have come today because they just wanted to listen to this. I said, give me some you answer.
Right.
And so I'm work in progress. And I've been interviewing people for 35 years.
Skill, man.
Listening is a powerful tool.
Need more than to be listened to. You know, and that's partly
Okay,
why
I think we're close. I think we're close.
Says, look, there's all these people who aren't being listened to. It's like there are a lot of people who aren't being listened to. They're absolutely right.
There's a lot of people who aren't being listened to. Thanks to you guys, I'm not one of them. If you think that that doesn't mean something to me, then you've misjudged my entire person. The fact that I don't care. It's four of you are here right now, and probably one is including me watching. Watching the stream from the back end. I don't care. You're here, and that means so much to me. I really appreciate it. So, thank you for being here.
No doubt about that. And I've dealt with people who were extraordinarily marginalized, so to speak, in my clinical practice. And some of those people, to straighten out their minds, they need like 10,000 hours of listening. Because no one, and I mean this literally, I've had people in my clinical practice, no one ever listened to them their whole life.
Yeah.
And so when they start talking, they're all over the place, they're disorganized, they're hyper emotional.
Having met me now for an hour, what would your initial clinical diagnosis be?
Well, you're probably optimally disagreeable for your profession, because you can listen, but you're also not a...
Yo. Thank you, Miguel. Miguel, I don't watch you much, but odd. I think about you sometimes during the day and wishing the best for you and your show. Thank you, brother. Like, I put a lot into this. I put a lot. And like I was saying, I really didn't want to do this tonight. This is only, usually we're watching something that's like 2 hours long, and it's still a 3-4 hour stream. Somehow I've turned 38 minutes into almost 3 hours because I'm a G like that. But I couldn't do it without you. I couldn't do it without you guys. I mean, even if, those of you watching the replay, if this doesn't get blocked, which it definitely will, I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad that you're enjoying this. This goes for everybody. But if all of you hadn't been here, there was nobody here, I would have just let it play and kind of been, kind of talking to a new girl. Probably just would have been. Actually, I don't have any sounds when I type, because that's obnoxious. It's a touchscreen. Point being, I fucking appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for saying this, Miguel. It means a lot to me.
Pushover. And that's a very fine line, right? Because if you're too assertive or aggressive, then you get domineering. But if you're not enough, then you're a pushover. And
Yep.
and this was also the case with Kathy Newman. She's quite disagreeable, and that's a masculine trait, by the way. And it was one of the things I
She got into it in a way, so how we started the interview. She'd gone into it, I think, with a preconceived idea of what you would be like, and sort of stuck to that.
Yeah.
She's actually a very skillful journalist and interviewer, and I was surprised the way that interview went when I was watching it. And I think it was because she just had an idea of what she thought you would be.
Well, I think she also had an idea of what the optimal outcome of the interview might be.
Were a lot farther
I think
than
a lot
thought.
of the journalists who've gone after me in some sense have that. They think
I'm just gonna leave it.
there's part of them that thinks I'll be the person that finally exposes him for what he is.
Yeah.
That's
But
where I
then
stopped it.
They find out that I'm not who they thought that I am.
We are who they thought they were.
As they thought I might be.
Well, Professor Stephen Hawking, before he died, gave me his last television interview. And he
All
said
right,
that
here we go.
the biggest threat to the future of mankind was when artificial intelligence learned to self-design.
So we remember what narcissistic compassion is. The idea that your ideas are so virtuous that everyone else must follow them lest they be terrible people. That's what that whole rewinding thing was about.
What do you think the biggest threat to mankind is?
Narcissistic compassion. Now, guys, it's a threat too. But if we...
Sorry, I'm just going to make that into a short. What do you think the thing is? Narcissistic compassion. Boom! I'm going to make that into a short. So I just had to. Sorry, I apologize for blowing your eardrums out. But you should know, I'll be yelling sometimes.
If we had our
Especially later
act
in the
together ethically,
cheers.
It's possible that AI could become a useful servant rather than a tyrannical master. You don't want to automate your tyrannical masters, and that's the danger. That's one of the dangers of AI.
I've got to wrap it up. I don't want to, but I have to.
All right.
Just quick.
All right. The moment you've all been waiting for. In the red corner, fighting out of Britain, Piers Morgan. In the blue corner, fighting out of Toronto, the undisputed. Fuck, I don't have anything to go. I don't know, but this is the part. Here we go.
The film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community.
Is that what any of you? I mean, I know you all said that you've heard him before, but is that what you've gotten from Jordan Peterson in the last 40 minutes exactly? 40 minutes of content. I mean, 2 hours and 56 minutes here, but is that what you got from him? Again, I know you've seen more. But if anybody were to see just this interview and never hear of Jordan Peterson anywhere else, pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. What? I mean, I get where that comes from. Well, let's see.
I want to ask you just quickly, the film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men.
Oh, weirdo loner men.
Who are despicable in many ways.
Oh, despicable in many ways. For not being able to get some boom.
Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? You know, people have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
I thought the marginalized are supposed to have a voice. Not if you're white. Not if you got a dick. This is the liberal ideology. Rules for thee, but not for me.
It's making you emotional. Talk about
Well,
it.
You're goddamn right.
It's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What does they mean? It's like, well, these men, they don't.
So remember, I told you I wanted to, and Postal on point, I told you I wanted you to remember how they were talking about, oh, they're in a process of renewing identities. What can I get away with? What is my role? That's all going on. Listen, do you think I'm gonna put this as a poll because I know you motherfuckers won't answer otherwise. Do you think it would be different how Piers Morgan asked this question? Do you think he would have asked it in a different way if he knew that Peterson would have responded like this and gotten so emotional? Let's go back and see.
Insane man, the pseudo-intellectual hero.
Again, listen to the way that Piers Morgan is describing these people. The question is, would he phrase it differently had he known that this was going to change?
The incel community, incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure. Why not? You know, people have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. You know, what a terrible thing to do that is.
And just even that notion. What a terrible thing to do that is. Because that's how it's treated. How dare disaffected young men have somebody, anybody. The government has incentivized their mother to break up their family. The world has made it okay for everyone to shit on us. But just men. Just build the world. Like, who cares about men?
I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
That doesn't fucking hit you. If that doesn't fucking hit you, at least half as hard as the end of Click. I'm trying to keep it light. But I don't know. You guys, yeah. If you guys knew, and maybe you do, the level of despair that some people feel. A level of not loneliness. Loneliness is a temporary feeling. And solitude is almost has a positive connotation. There's a whole other realm of emotion. And for some of us, it inhabits our every moment for years. For years, we are just engulfed in this whatever. Hey, we got Dr. Evil Genius in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry, I'm not as upbeat, but you definitely understand. Hit that like button too, please, buddy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how else to frame it. It's as clear as day in this man's face that he understands what so many people just don't even think about. Hey, we got Jared Idle in the building. So I just watched this portion of the interview, and you feel for Jordan because he wants to help. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Jared. Another great author who was part of the I Didn't Read Your Book podcast while it was up. Go check out his book, Serpent of Eden. We did our episode, and that's the name of his book. You should go check it out. He's also doing a bunch of spoken word stuff on his YouTube channel, doing some great stuff. And, of course, you guys know, Talking Shit Podcast. I'll be there tomorrow for the UFC card. But Peterson. Why is it's almost surprising that this has gone so viral? When you really think about it, what goes viral? Stuff that's different. Or stuff that's relatable. So either way, this is not something that doesn't resonate with people. This is not something that he's being a bitch about. This has nothing to do with his masculinity. The ability to express your emotions and not be afraid of what other people are going to think of you is the definition of masculinity. So make fun of him all you want. But I see you for who you are. If you are laughing at this, I see you for who you are.
Emotional, talk about that.
Well, God, you know.
Even the way he says that, oh my God, it's like he's not playing around. He's not acting. He's not. This man is affected by this, and you should be too.
It's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are, and certainly many young men are in that category. And you get these casual insults, these incels. What does that mean? It's like, well, these men, they don't know how to make themselves attractive to women who are very picky, and good for them. Women, like, be picky. That's your gift, man. Demand high standards from your men. Fair enough. But
I mean, we can definitely talk about what those standards are. You definitely have the wrong high standards, most women. But
all these men who are alienated, it's like they're lonesome and they don't know what to do, and everyone piles abuse on them.
When she said that, Olivia Wilde, it stung you, didn't it? I saw the
by that time, you know, that as far as critiques go, that was kind of low level. I mean, once I got painted as Red Skull.
Guys, if you could get me to 10 likes, please, that would be so important to me.
No, magical super Nazi. That was kind of the end of the
Red Skull magical super Nazi. That's the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Insults. There's no place past that. So when Olivia Wilde made those comments, the first thing I did was go look at the preview for a movie, which I quite liked. I thought I would go see that movie probably, and perhaps I will. It didn't really bother me. My family and I talked about it right away, and we were able to respond to it with some degree of humor, which then people completely misunderstood. I said I hope that, you know, that if I had to be played by someone, he's a very good-looking man, and so that seems all right, you know.
That is gangster shit. That is masculinity. Taking something that cuts fucking deep, being able to turn the fuck around.
And then I said something like, I hope he gets my fashion style choice right when he plays me. And it was a joke. All that was a joke.
You've been so controlled today, and yet in that brief moment, you got very emotional. Why?
I'll tell you why. What did he say was the biggest problem that we're facing? Narcissistic compassion. What did he mean by that? People who are doing things that aren't good, thinking they're doing it because they are so good. That sounds like modern feminism to me. That sounds like modern leftism to me. I don't know how else to categorize these things. There's a group of bad ideas, multiple groups, but there's a group of bad ideas in this realm. And, Dr. Evil Genius and I were talking about, how maybe I can be too rigid in my thinking of, the leftists and the conservatives and the this and the that. Maybe. But there's very clearly a dividing line between the type of person who understands what's happening here, whether they actively care, whether they actively understand, whether they understand what is happening here. And then there's people who are like, what a loser. As Sneaky would say, fucking bots.
It's really something to see constantly. How many people are dying for lack of an encouraging word?
So I want to stop this real quick because of something that was said a little bit earlier. I probably can't find it, and that's going to be fucking annoying. I think it was Armed With My Opinions was saying, why is he crying? Like, can it? Enough. And I think this absolutely addresses that. I think again the question that I was I'm looking for the comment now, but the question I was asking to that notion. So this was the comment. Armed With My Opinions says he's an emotional man. I get it. I've just seen him cry too many times. Maybe I need to get in touch with my soft side and watch some rom-coms to understand his POV. Maybe. Or maybe you're just one of those men who are lucky enough not to have to deal with what most men, not a lot, not some, most men deal with. And if that's you, kudos. Kudos. Good for you. But if you don't understand, consider yourself lucky, because there's a lot of us who understand way too fucking well.
And how easy it is to provide that if you're careful. You know, give credit where credit is due. And to say, you're a net force for good if you want to be.
Do you believe you're a net force for good?
Net, yes. In all the details, probably not.
Even there, do you think you're a net force for good? If you ask me, do you think you're a net force for good? I'd say, of course. Absolutely. A net force for good. That doesn't mean I'm perfect, but that's what net means. Overall, I would say you're goddamn right. If I'm not, then I would hope that somebody would say something. Dr. Virginia says empathy and decency doesn't require understanding. I think so. I mean, Dr. Virginia, I think you're gonna do your own video on this, so I don't want to step on that. But no one, we've got about 2.5 minutes left of this video. If you want to come up and have a conversation, I would love that. But I understand, you want to do your own thing. So either way, but I think everybody would love to hear from you. But yeah, I mean, on point. I don't have anything to add to that. Empathy and decency do not require understanding. You see a man who is affected, where he spent 40 minutes talking about equally, yep. See, you gotta trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. Fair enough, Dr. Ewan. I mean, you know what? Maybe somebody in the chat will call Dr. Evil Genius a bitch for that. I wouldn't suggest it. I mean, I haven't met him in person, but I know his makeup, and I wouldn't suggest it. And he is definitely a masculine man. So, you think? I mean, it is what it is. Frigo said, "I'm internally emotional, and one of the things I hate about my face is how blank it looks even when I'm sad. People assume that I'm just chill and or tired all the time when my face rests. I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think if you are willing to put yourself out there, there are people like me and everybody. We don't need to dox anybody, but everybody here who was in that Twitter group chat, including Anirudh, we all care about you. We all want you to do well. I'm very happy that you got a job. I'm excited for you to start that. Put yourself out there. One of my biggest regrets is feeling like for most of my life that I had to change myself, to comport, to be somebody I wasn't, to please other people. It wasn't until I decided, oh, most of these people are fucking idiots. Or if not, they're just hateful. Or if not, they're just selfish. Or if not, there's something else. Why don't I just be me and put me out there? And then whoever is down with that, I know that they're down with me. That's the only way to do it. The only way to do it. Those people who are making those judgments about you, they're not your friends. If they're not willing to say, even have a conversation, hey, dude, you're not even like upset about this? And now that you say that, oh, you just triggered a memory. Now that you say that, I remember when, Akon, when this Akon died, we were at the hospital Everybody else is in tears. Our best friend, my best friend, their friend. My best friend we found out he just died. I'm pretty much in shock. Everybody else is crying. And all I can do is be like, wow, I guess like this is life now. This is a new chapter. I couldn't cry. I just didn't. I was literally like shaking, but I couldn't cry. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I was so sure on the way to the hospital that that episode would have ended with me going to see him in his bed. And even before Nick picked me up, even before, as soon as I found out that he was in an accident, I assumed it was no big deal. And I was like, oh, I got a great joke for this. Dude, you're laying down on a work day? What a bum. I never got to make that joke. And I question all the people I was with, except for, the one. All those people I was with don't talk to me anymore. And I wonder, now that I'm reading your comment, Frigo, if they saw that and judged me for it. It's possible. I don't know. They would be fucking retarded to do so, but people are not smart. Miguel says to the free ego, people think I'm angry. It's hard sometimes. I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you guys. When people have it all wrong because of the way your face hangs, I understand. Understanding. Isn't that the most core base need? Yeah, we need shelter from the elements. We need food. We need water. Sure. Okay, great. What's next on Maslow's hierarchy of needs? We need people to understand us, to understand that this journey that I'm on, that nobody else is on, we're all on our own unique journey. That whatever's going on, like I said, the worst thing that's ever happened to you, no matter who you are and whatever else happened in your life, is still the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And I think we've become so obsessed with comparing our traumas to each other. It's like, oh, well, you're a straight white male, so doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. I was gonna use some shit, but doesn't really matter that you go through all of this shit because somebody else has it worse. Okay, I don't remember that being a white person ideal. I think it's just people want to be understood. That's it. That's it.
No one's perfect. So people make their mistakes as they stumble uphill.
Oof. People make mistakes as they stumble uphill. That rolls off the tongue like the opposite of eating like a Cinnabon. That shit just goes down. This is the inverse opposite of that. Let's listen to that one more again. Frigo says, the worst of one person is exceeding the best of another. People who say that shit to dismiss someone is genuinely a brainlet. People are so focused on superficial bullshit. I'm trying to think if when I was young, like old enough, but young, like 8, 9, 10 years old, when like social stuff started becoming like real. Like once, if you're not, you're 7 years old, then, whatever goes on doesn't really But like once you're 10 years old, you're starting to get into that role of being like an actual person, understanding what's going on, just starting. But the worst of one person exceeding the best of another. People who say that shit dismiss one are generally a brainlet. Yeah, that seems like very day one surface level analysis of how emotions work, how people work, how your brain works, all of that stuff. Well, let's go back and hear this one more time.
No one's perfect. So people make their mistakes as they stumble uphill.
Jordan, it's been a fascinating interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've got this new box set out.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that.
Jordan B. Peterson, 24 Rules for Life and Beyond Order. Fascinating books. They sold how many millions now?
Well,
millions and millions
7,
and millions.
and I think Beyond Order is approaching 1 million now. So yeah, they're doing just fine.
Did you ever think you'd sell that number of books?
I never thought any of this would happen. So yeah, I knew when I was teaching at Harvard and University of Toronto that some of the things I was teaching were revolutionary. I was surprised that I got away with it, let's say, as long as I did. And so there's a way in which it doesn't surprise me. And I wouldn't say that's because of the brilliance of my ideas. It's because I'm good at communicating ideas, but the ideas that I've been developing, they're ancient ideas. They're the oldest ideas we have.
Which is precisely why we don't need to frame them in dogmatic or religious framing. Frigo says, I envy people who've never had to deal with this first world bullshit. We humans are so easy to adapt to things, yet so prone to overcomplicating our own lives. This is an interesting thought, because I get what you're saying. That excuse me, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you're hungry, you're not really worrying about being understood. And being hungry, fixing that, is a much simpler and more direct conclusion. Let's get rid of this. That's the end of the fucking thing. This reminds me of the mindset I was in as an active addict. So easy to adapt to things, yet so prone to overcomplicating our own lives. There was a simplicity to being an addict. We're like, yeah, I still had school and work and bills, and for a short time in that, a girlfriend and, rent and all that stuff. But none of it mattered. All I cared about was getting the next fix. All I cared about was my schedule of, okay, I'm gonna get fucked up these 3 days. I'm gonna take these 2 days off to make sure I can, peer off a little bit, so that way I can continue to get fucked up and not be super addicted. It engulfs your life. So Frigo clarifies, the first world bullshit, is the loss of a collective common belief system and acknowledgement of reality. Yeah. There's definitely, obviously, we are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel comfortable speaking for Frigo, saying that I don't think he's saying he wishes he was in a third world country. I think it's just part of being in the first world. It comes with very unique problems that don't have ancient ideas connected to them. When it comes to hunger, there's an ancient idea on how to fix that. You eat. When you're just getting high all day, every day, and you're not high, there's a pretty straightforward way to fix that. You get high. But then you want to be a productive member of society and find a relationship and find friends, and you have different thoughts. because you've lived not better or worse, just different life than most people you know, and you don't seem to relate as much. You feel very alone. And a last-ditch effort to get anyone at any cost to just acknowledge your existence. You pick up your phone, you go on whatever live, and you blow your fucking head off. Is that okay? Are we okay with that? Like, is that the takeaway? That Jordan Peterson cried? Or should the takeaway be like, oh fuck, we really need to start paying attention to this issue? I don't know about you guys, but even being balls deep in this type of shit. Pastor, that example is also experienced in third world countries. I agree. I get what he's saying though. You know what he means. Frigo says, first world has been a terrible thing for the spirit, and the third world is fraught with body and archaic beliefs that continue to oppress. We should have our shit together, but we don't. Yeah, I mean, the third world definitely has. We all definitely want to be in a first world country, specifically America. Obvious. That doesn't mean that there are Hold on. Struggle streaming. We got internet. Then what is going on? What do you mean? Go do the thing that you're supposed to do. This is the most annoying thing about any type of any type of technology. All I want you. This is a fucking $100 for a fucking computer. The only thing I have you for, and of course Jimmy Dean shows up right when I'm struggle streaming. Look what you did, Jimmy Dean. StreamYard's not working. All right, well, I guess, it's a good thing we fucking finished the video. I don't know what the hell is happening. All right, fuck it. I'll just talk to you from here. I'm going to talk to you from here. Let's see if I can hang this on here. See if it'll stay. Nope, I'm going to stay. I mean, we got the point. It's sad that it's sad that even in the first world, we have issues like this. Even in the first world, where yep, you definitely are fucking with my shit. Yeah, my internet went out. How did that happen? But it's frustrating that we can't do better. Are you talking about my grays, bro? I know I got grays. That makes me distinguished. And of course, there's more people here now. Oh, we got internet. We got internet. What do you mean? It says connected and secured. I hate everything. Do you want me to try? I'm trying to think. I don't know if you guys are if you guys want to stay open, whatever. We're fuck it. Fuck it. I think we had a good one, and the world is not my friend right now. So let's just leave it there. You know, I think Jordan Peterson and his show of emotion really his show of emotion really spoke so much more than bro. I'm on my phone right now. I have no internet. There's nothing happening right here, and I definitely don't really want to talk first and third world issues when we're talking about, you know, men. But hey, that's what Discord's for. I will happily, if you want to jump in the voice channel, we could do that. But you know, I just want people to be a little bit more conscientious. It's not as simple. Nothing is as simple as it's made to be. There we go. Nothing is as simple as it's made to be. Whatever you think you understand to a T, and this goes for me as well, you probably don't. That doesn't mean don't, you know, behave as if you know things. If you think you know something, go forth and know it. Talk about it. But you have to be open to people reacting in a way you didn't understand, in a way you didn't expect. Oh, I know what I could do. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to see if I can fix this right now. If you give me 25 seconds, we might be able to do this. We might be able to bring it back. Oh, for fuck's sake. All right, give me 20 seconds. 20 fucking seconds. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. All right. Are we good? Is there anybody still here? What is happening? Oh, there we go. Wow, nobody left. Wow, look at that. You guys are awesome. Jimmy Dean said, nothing is as simple as asking a woman what she wants to eat. Nothing harder than getting her to answer. Facts. Jared says, Jordan, along with the idea, really, it's the network adapter. Awesome. Okay. Jared says, Jordan, along with the idea of psychedelics as a way to communicate with God, help me out. I seem to have found a purpose rather than being angry young man with some sort of spirituality. That's good. I'd rather you be religious than angry. I definitely think that you know, it's worth it to see if there is a framing that doesn't have to necessarily break the laws of physics and have you believing in things that don't comport to reality. But that's a whole other step. So if that's where you are, then good for you, brother. Good for you. All right. It looks like we might be able to do this without restarting. Come on, baby. Resolving problems. Let's go. Let's go. Oh. Do we fix? Ish fix? Ish not fix. Well, you know fix. It says, am I stupid? Does that not say connected and secured? Not to mention, I have the frickin' Ethernet cable. But why? But why? I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is this happening to me? The internet is fine. It's connected. Let's try this. The modem is fine. It's the computer. And usually when I go through the thing, I'm not gonna have a whole show for this. This motherfucker. I apologize that we are gonna have to cut it short. If you tag me in the Discord server if you want to. I mean, no, but literally because I don't want to have to wait for it to restart. And so by this point, now if I go and restart, it's just we missed the boat. We missed the boat. If you want to continue this conversation, or I'm trying to center, why is it so hard to center the camera? Because it's at the top, but like I'm looking at the center, so it should be, yeah. If there's anything that you do want to talk about, we're not going to have a panel, but Discord is still there, so hit me up. We will talk about it. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate you guys. I'm so sorry that my computer blow so much dunk a dick. That's what's happening. So I don't really know what to do. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for being part of this. And for those of you who expressly expressed that you appreciate what I'm doing, and understand that really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate you all. Thank you for hanging out. Once again, I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus. Here, oh, wrong side. Oh, no, here. Jesus Christ. To resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.